I clap.
All right.
I clap.
Well, that's fantastic. It's fantastic news. We've got it done. It only took the second try. Normally we're first try Andys, but it will be a second try Andy this time around. And there's no problems with that. And look, I want to make sure that everybody at home is feeling like they can give themselves a round of applause. That's how you should start every day. Get out of bed and give yourself just a clap. Just know that you've done it. You're awake again, and you're ready to get going for another beautiful day in Europe where it's fucking cold. It's awesome here in Europe, isn't it?
How's the jet lag, Chad?
There's no jet lag.
Okay.
No jet lag at all.
Sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was a little bit tired last night when we were doing the podcast because I've still been waking up early since I've gotten back here. So by the time I get to that late at night, it's already my bedtime. I might have to adjust that a little.
You know, Chad, I know you personally are a huge David Goggins fan, and
one of the biggest, I would
and
say.
of his, motivational videos. So, in light of your, you got out of bed, you earned a round of applause. Another one I can recommend for you to watch is, if you haven't seen it, it was University of Texas at Austin commencement address in 2014. Admiral William H. McRaven. Yeah, it's around like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and he goes through.
Wait, what?
Through like it's like a it was like it's a speech for when they start or finish university, Jason. When they start, for the
I don't
new
know.
commencement address. I assume that
I think that's graduation.
or graduation. So they get like someone famous or whatever, like, I don't know, fucking Steve Jobs went to Harvard to do it. So he's like sort of giving you some, like, I guess, motivational topics or whatever. Just check it out. I think you might.
Yeah.
All right,
And-
I might have to listen back because it was quite a lengthy name. What was the name
I'll
again?
link it. Wait, I'll link it, and we'll link it also. Another big moment is is we're not in TeamSpeak recording this. We're actually on our own Discord channel.
Yeah, and we've brought a TeamSpeak expert here today to discuss the pros and cons of the VoIP. I believe that stands for Voice over IP that Discord offers as
What does
compared to
IP
that
stand
of TeamSpeak. Internet Protocol, I do
So
believe.
Voice over
is
Internet Protocol.
Yeah, that's the one. We like acronyms with an acronym.
Wow, you guys are
Rush Lee
fucking
Ranger.
intelligent.
I'm
Rush,
just
you
going to say it. Discord audio for voice is dog. It's terrible.
Is that the technical term?
Yes, dog. And honestly, I usually use
What does that
TeamSpeak.
stand for?
It's just better. What, dog?
Destructive audios with an A. Yeah, look, we'll work on that acronym there. But dog backwards is God, and Russia's the god of TeamSpeak. Do you feel that you've been betrayed today?
A little bit.
No,
I am
you
working on
don't.
the newsletter. I'm working on the newsletter right now, so this could actually make a story in there.
Don't let this make it into the
It might,
natuletter. It's
actually.
meant to be about holiday cheer.
Yeah, you're
There'll
supposed
be a
to be
section for
positive.
Oh, it's not very positive.
But how much?
Oh,
I mean, it's a
no.
bit.
How much of your disappointment, Rush, stems from the fact that we're not on TeamSpeak compared to that we're not on your server on TeamSpeak?
Honestly, if you want any other TeamSpeak server, I would be fine with that too.
Really?
I would be fine.
Okay.
I don't believe
I mean,
that for
I
a
would
second.
ra- I would
I don't
rather
believe that
you
for a
came
fucking
to us.
second. Listen to him. This guy's power hungry.
Well, it's more the fact that I want people to come there, so maybe eventually they feel obligated to, pay for, the service that I've been providing for years.
Russia, I've been in there for like the last month, sitting up in the chillin'
Oh,
channels,
tell me
and you
about it.
never
Tell
come
me.
talk to me, and you're always down in the
You
private
never
channels.
come to me, Jason, man.
Because
There
you're
you
in a
go.
locked,
Another power
you're in a locked
trip.
channel.
I see
It's-
you.
Another
It's
power
you.
trip. You need to
It's
go
not
to
a locked
him,
channel.
Jason.
It's not a locked channel. Half
It's
the time
unbelievable,
we're in,
isn't it?
We're in the channel Air Fryer Steak, and you can just join that channel anytime you want.
And I'm sure that you'd have permissions as well, Jason. I'm sure that
he's-
you're
he's
able to
made
move
it.
No,
stuff
I
around.
have a new PC. They didn't transfer over from the old
Tell
account.
me, man. I'll give you majorly verified.
Well, I would, but you were always in the lock channels.
Poke me.
Ooh.
That seems a little.
Okay.
That
Call
seems a
me
little bit
anything.
past where we are at at this day and age. But
You can anytime, Jason. I mean, okay. Next time we see you there, we'll come up and we'll say hello. All right?
all right.
Okay.
Couldn't you message him on WhatsApp or something, Jason,
Yeah,
if you really
anything.
wanted to get in contact with him? I'm sure that there's multiple ways that you could have.
Whose fucking side
gotten
are
into
you
this
on,
chat.
Chad?
Well, I'm just saying clear lines of communication is quite important if we want to avoid these type of situations that we're finding ourselves
Yeah,
in.
no,
wouldn't you
I'm
say?
just giving him shit. Rush did help me a lot picking out the new PC, so I'm pleased about
You've
that.
been
one.
doing that a lot lately, Rush.
I know.
I really have. I'm not lying. Which one did you get, Jason? In that I don't remember now. It was so long ago.
I was looking at it in our last conversation. Oh fuck! I just spilled my coffee again. It's like the third episode with which I've done that. I don't know. I got the 7800 3D. I got a 4090. I got 32 gigs of RAM, and now I got to clean up.
Listen,
my
next
fucking
week we'll do an episode
good
at like 8 p.m. our time, Chad, so that Jason is, in the afternoon. At that point,
can't have a
he's
coffee.
past the coffee. He's moved on to bourbon, so it'll be fine.
And I'll be much more careful about the bourbon. We know that.
Bloody hell. Oh dear, oh dear. No, look, Rush, you already have slightly hinted at your reason for being here today, and it's got nothing to do with the age-old debate of TeamSpeak versus Discord, but it is to do with the TeamSpeak channel name, at least in some way. Do you want to set the table here for everybody playing at home? Do you want to tell your own story?
Well, okay, I do have at the moment I have a channel on TeamSpeak called Air Fryer Steak. It's because recently I have been air frying my steaks. This is part of a bigger picture sort of thing, but I'd like to get opinion on air fryer steaks as a whole just before I proceed, really. Has anyone done that? Has anyone tried that?
I have done it before.
I think it sounds fucking terrible.
Everyone
Wow.
says that. Everyone says that, but honestly,
Try it, Jason.
when it comes out of the air fryer, it's fucking good. I'll say that.
What kind of a steak?
should
What
at
kind of a
least
steak
give
are
it a
you
try.
throwing in an air fryer?
The only steak I like all steaks.
A5
but
Wagyu,
steak-
baby.
No, yeah. I'm balling, boys. No, I like a nice ribeye. A ribeye, in my opinion, is the best steak.
Nah.
It is, too. You get the little bit of fat in there as well. It's tender, it's juicy, it's fatty, it's
I
good.
feel like ribeye steaks
Well, I don't
have been
think it
getting fattier
unequivocally
over
is.
the years.
What's that?
I feel like ribeyes have been getting fattier over the years. I like a nice
Yeah,
New
that's
York
good.
strip, Rushley. A New York strip.
It's just a bit bland. I mean, it's fine. I'll eat it. I'll happily eat it. But I think a ribeye, you got the big eye of fat in there, and it's soft and blubbery, and it's good.
What the fuck?
Boys, I've got
Are you,
anyway,
are
the
you
re-
okay?
The reason why we're talking about this, I wanted to talk about a journey I've been on of self. What's the word?
Medication.
Self. No. Self
Improvement?
Reflection?
Yes. I've been trying to better myself as a human. I've been trying to lose some pounds on the body, if you know what I'm saying. I've been trying to get in the gym a little bit, all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to tell you guys about my journey, basically. If you have
Your
any
little
questions.
adventure.
Yeah, I've been on a bit of adventure. I've been doing the ketogenic diet. Now,
Can you spell that?
Keto and then genic. But that's the one where you basically just eat meats, fats, vegetables, and that's about it, which is
Okay.
good for me. I
Yep.
like that. Some people may class this as a fad or something like that, which is fair enough. You can take one. At the end of the day, a diet, it's all about calorie deficit, blah, yada, yada, yada. But the thing is, on the keto diet, I stay full for a long time.
Is this health advice?
Definitely not. I really don't really know what I'm talking about. But, it works for me, and I've done it in the past. I lost a substantial amount of weight about 10 years ago. So I'm doing it again. I'm doing it for a couple of months now.
10 years ago.
Probably, yeah. That's the
To be
first
on it
time.
for how long?
Since October for this.
I remember, weren't you doing this when Kelly and Matt were in fucking Cologne? Weren't you doing keto back then?
Impossible. No, I couldn't have done.
So you weren't doing it when the clients were there?
No, not when the clients were there. No, I did this way
Okay.
before then. Way before then.
Okay,
Way
sorry.
before.
So-
But yeah, I've started up again. So I've got some numbers and some metrics. I have a Fitbit on, so I got all sorts of numbers. So you can ask me anything you want. But
A Fitbit?
yeah, I have a Fitbit. Yeah, I got one of those things. After the second time I went to the gym, I bought that. So,
Really?
Yep. It's
Okay.
nice. Battery's crazy. It's 11-day battery or something. So I kind of like that.
11-day battery. So I feel that you haven't really done a great job of setting this up.
Are you gonna
tell
be
you,
hopping
well.
on Pimp's podcast anytime soon? Talk about your weight loss journey?
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, I've been on the exercise bike, so I know we probably have some stuff to talk about there.
So essentially, you're talking about a weight loss journey that Rushley Ranger 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 has been on, which also includes you going to the gym and on the ketogenic diet. What is your
That's what I
favorite
said,
food?
innit? My favorite
Well-
food, I like a bit of meat. Today I had
Alright,
a nice
fucking
Air
Joe
fried
Rogan.
ribeye.
Today I had a $2 steak. Just one of them little thin.
A $2 steak.
Asmongold
He's really
style.
selling this.
Yeah, it's pretty good, honestly. Like it's actually not
Asman Gold style.
bad. Yeah. He does a $2 steak, which is pretty good. But I don't have the potato.
Why-
because, potatoes are carbs and all that.
Why don't you have you ever done sous vide, Rush? If you're gonna cook a steak
so-
inside, why don't you use the sous vide method?
Yes, I think sous vide is actually a good call. I bought my parents a sous vide a few years ago.
For
and
Christmas?
One Christmas, for Christmas. One Christmas I went home and I unpacked
Went
it from
home.
all of its packaging, ripped off all the security stuff. Because they hadn't used it, of course. But so I did use a sous vide at my parents' place, and it was actually very good. I did chicken in it as well, and that was unbelievable, actually. Sous vide's good stuff. But I don't know. I don't own one here. I just have an air fryer.
Okay, so that would probably explain why you're not doing it. So, okay, so look, what is if for people who might be interested in there, can you spell the diet name again?
That's keto and then genic.
Okay. So what is that? How restrictive is that, Rush? What type of things are you cutting out of your diet?
Basically, you can't really have carbs.
No sugar, no
Pretty much-
carbs, no breads, no sweets.
Sugar is carbs. Yeah, breads. Potatoes. There's some like root-style vegetables which are more carb aggressive, like carrots.
Carb aggressive.
Yeah, they're a bit aggressive on the carb side. So
Okay.
I basically just eat meat and vegetables, which seems all right. Don't think I can
Cheeses.
I've already
You
done
can
that.
also
You
eat
can do
eggs in the
cheeses,
morning. You can do fish.
eggs.
Eggs. I never have breakfast. But
So
fish is
so
fine,
wait. So you've been on it for 2 months, basically, right? A bit more, two and a half
pretty much,
months.
yeah. A bit longer, yeah.
And in
maybe,
that time,
2.5.
you're not a drinker, so didn't really.
No.
You did no drinking. You've done some exercise, not too much.
3 times a week, yeah. 3
Consist-
times a week. Well,
He's been
every
going
morning
for daily walks.
every morning, if I either do one or the other in the morning, I either wake up and I go for a 30-minute walk or something, or I wake up and I go to the gym. One or the other. And today,
All right.
we had a
So
little
let's
gym
do
session,
this. Let's guess, the three of us, how much weight did he lose?
I know, so I can't
All
be
right,
included
so me and
in
Jason
this.
guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I know
say
as
How are
well.
you doing this?
He
I
told
think
me
I
the
know
other
it
day.
in everything.
What, you know
I
as
think I know
well?
it in stone.
Yeah.
I know it in pounds. And I know
All right,
it
so
in
just tell
This
me.
is like the
I
third
would
time.
have
This is the third time I've
I
heard
would have
this
said,
story.
like, with all of that in 2.5 months, I would have said at least 10 kilos, probably more, like
Oh, not bad. Yeah.
12 to 15 probably would be my range.
Very close. Very close. Well, everyone
Just
else
tell him.
Pretty much knows, I guess.
Do it in
16,
kilos.
I'm at 16 kilograms right now down. Which we take that.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And for all the British people, that's 2.5 stone. For all the American people, I think it's 20-something pounds. I don't know.
35
But that's a lot
pounds.
of weight.
More
It's
than
35
that,
pounds.
More than that.
I think,
Yeah, 35 pounds.
but you're doing a good thing, which is important. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, let's say someone was a bit overweight, it's important that you go to the gym as well, so you can, what's the word? Improve your body form, right?
Yes,
if you're
so
just
toning is
yeah,
what people say,
yeah, all right. So if you're just like losing weight, then well, yeah, you'll weigh less and you'll shrink a little bit, but it still might not be, what you would aiming for. If you just do some simple workouts, like you're doing like a couple of times a week, that's more than enough. So now I'm fucking.
Yeah, at the moment I'm
Are
trying
you coming
do
to the
3 times a
HLTV
week right
Awards,
now.
Rush?
No. I would like to, honestly, but I don't think I can. I don't know. I actually did look at the vibes, and it looked a bit hard to do. I would love to go, though. I think that's going to be sick. Are we allowed to talk about HLTV podcast-related stuff on this podcast? I don't know.
Why not?
You can talk about whatever you want
know if
on this
there's,
podcast.
I should probably.
contrary
We should
to
probably
some people
plug.
believe.
We should probably plug HLTV confirmed after I plugged our Discord on the show last night.
Well, we talk about everything. We don't really like.
Yeah, we don't discriminate.
It's all right.
Rising tide
No, but it's-
raises all ships.
But yeah,
or
I
something.
just want to say
Yeah, that's
though,
the one.
happy for you, Rush.
Like,
I managed to do it for 3 weeks in June.
Oh, what, keto?
Yeah, because like the no booze and all, and that whole part is like fucking, and I saw,
You see,
and I
that
saw, I
part's
saw,
easy
I
for
saw
me.
results within the 3 weeks, like, and then not
I will be honest.
insignificant results. So like, I know that it would work and that it would work for me as well, but it's like a little bit too strict for when I'm home.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks are crazy. Like in those 2 weeks, you lose a lot of weight. I mean,
You get those-
the
you get
arguments
those
of water
keto
weight
shits?
and all that. Yeah, they're very, very dry. I will say that much. It's,
hell.
not to get back on toilet talk yet again, but
It seems the theme whenever Rush is
no
on.
anal
It's
leakage,
on.
Janko. No, nothing.
No.
It's fully solid, fully dry. It's kind of painful.
Okay.
But I mean,
We don't need to go
it's
this
doing the
deep.
good stuff.
Yeah.
I just need. That was a yes or no question.
But-
But
asked,
but
you asked.
also I was like, I didn't have too big of a problem with the diet itself, like with the food. I don't really eat too much sweets anyway. Like sure, but and when I don't drink, I don't really need carbs because I need carbs the day after to beat the hangover. So like you can eat steak, you can eat all kinds of meat, whether you can eat eggs for breakfast. Like I can eat that every fucking day. I don't care.
Yeah, bacon and eggs. If I eat bacon and eggs for lunch, I'm full until evening completely. Like,
and you
bacon
can
and
eat
eggs
Can you have
pretty good.
potatoes,
and you
Rush?
can eat
No,
a
no.
lot more. Like of the
You can, but I'm surprised how because you're on keto, you're burning fat, right? That's the difference. You're not burning carbs, you're burning fat as your main body source. So like if I eat just like a pretty small lunch, like the hunger I'm barely ever hungry, which is like really nice about this, because like calorie counting is effective as well, but like if I do that, it feels I'm so hungry all the time.
I don't do.
But Rush, you said this is interesting, Rush. How are you feeling doing all of this stuff? Because the answer that you gave, I think it would surprise a lot of people.
I've felt the same my entire life, man, no matter how big or
So this
small
is where it gets crazy. This is where it gets crazy. Now explain that, Rush. Go into a little bit more detail here
I
for
don't know.
everybody
I've
playing
like,
at home.
you know, I've been a bigger boy, you know, throughout most of my adult years, you could say, and I felt fine the whole time. I don't know. I don't feel any different when I do lose weight. Going to the gym, I feel a bit more power, you know, in my legs, for example.
Bit more power.
I do a lot of cardio, I do a lot of cycling and stuff like that. So I feel like there's this muscle that's been grown, or however that works, you know. But in terms of body feel, I feel the exact same. I don't know.
Which is really quite hard to stomach. Like the fact you're just saying that. Like I think a lot. Like that's not what you'd be expecting to hear. You wouldn't be expecting to go, oh yeah, I just feel the same. Like I've lost 16 kilos. I've been doing all this active stuff. I'm eating better. I just feel the same. Like don't you think that's wild?
I think I'm just consistent in I don't know, in how I've felt my entire life. I don't know. I didn't really have pains before. Don't have pains now. I don't know. Feels normal.
I think it's more like you should be
ago.
feeling like better about yourself. Like not necessarily that, like you're looking better or anything like that. Just that you've made like good progress and you've been disciplined and all of that stuff. And also just the gym has an impact on your mental. At least for me, you know.
Yeah, okay, well, that is partially true, actually. But my mental's usually in a good state anyway, thankfully, somehow. But I will say, you know, when I see the numbers go down every week, it's pretty nice. I put on a T-shirt that, it's actually one from Pro League. I don't remember exactly, team whatever. But that fits actually quite nice now. And before
Is it the grey one?
Yeah, it's the grey one.
Team counter.
Yeah, the losers.
Yeah, so I can put that on now. And if I put that on and look in the mirror, I can see, okay, yeah, I have dropped some weight here, because normally I wear fairly loose clothes in general. So
It's the early visual reward that helps the most with keto. I feel I did it in like 2017, like, and it just helped like springboard me to feel better about like going to the gym, because you lose that weight quick, so you get like a really really quick like reward system in your brain, and then you feel better about doing things and about the journey. Yeah,
I'm motivated. I'll say that. When I say I feel motivated. I feel accomplished. I feel good in that regard.
Yeah.
But in terms of actual like sensory feeling of my body, I feel the same.
Okay, all right, well, fair enough. That is what it is. It's hard to argue with that. So I guess there'll be no more baking with Rush, or getting baked with Rush. I forget the official title.
Doing this forever would be a bit miserable. I mean, from now it's perfectly fine because I'm just at home. But
it's hard when you travel. It's really hard when you travel.
I'll tell you what, I will be going into traveling that's why I'm doing it, is because my last event was like Pro League. I did go to Sydney. It's fucking far in it. And then my next event will be Katowice, so I'm doing it up until Katowice.
Yeah, he doesn't want to travel to Australia. It's too far away for him.
Really far.
That's going to be pretty sick by then.
Yeah.
I can't believe he fucking doesn't want to travel to Australia. It's just crazy, you know? Like, the guy...
Though, isn't it, really?
It's
like a personal insult to you, Chad. Really.
It is. And I said to him, would he come to Australia if I was getting married down there? And he only has recently changed his tune on that. For the longest time, he was like, nah.
Might do.
Now he might do. Yesterday it was yes. So it's fucking flip-flopped again, this fucking cunt.
Sounds like
I
Rush.
probably would.
I feel like Chad is going to get married solely for the reason to get Rush down to Australia. Like, I don't know.
They got that A5
like
Wagyu down there. No $2 steaks in Australia.
I'll find them. They're good.
It's all right,
they're
Rush.
cheap, you know. I mean, I don't know. And big beef fan. I like my beef. I like my duck as well. Big fan of the duck.
Okay. Well, he's a duck fan. That's true. We're going for brunch. Oh, I guess it's lunch tomorrow, aren't we, Rush? 12:30.
Yes, 12:30.
Yeah.
12:30.
In log name.
We won't say the name, you know, because there's a lot of lunatics out there, you know. You never know. But yeah.
But if you see us around Cologne, you know, say hi. We'll be out having some lunch.
Say hi. But yeah, that's about it. All right. You can ask me for a picture. That's fine.
I'll take it. The two of you together, you and Rush.
We can give some hints, you know, for anyone out there. You know, it is a breakfast sort of place, you know. I will be getting bacon and eggs.
Try to give away the suburb.
Where is it?
It's
I
in
think
Sud.
I know. It's in Sud. Oh, yeah, that's a small place.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Rush, it's been great having you today. I'm not kicking you out. I know you don't like hanging around for too long. So
I think I got my message. We could do a mini get animated.
okay. Well, I would love that.
Go
and
on.
then you have to, after you've done get animated, can you segue us into another topic before you leave?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay, all right. So we do have on our Discord, we do have a Get Animated channel, which I was hoping you would take a bit more of an active role in.
I think I messaged them there once, didn't I?
No, it doesn't look like it. I'm scanning through right now. I see no Rushly comments.
Oh, okay. I put a message in another one. I tried to get like a very good role in this Discord. What's the Discord join exact link, Jason? Do you know it?
No, we don't have enough boosts yet to get the dedicated one. I can give you an invite.
Boosts?
People can boost the server. We currently have 5 boosts. We're at level 1. We need 2 more to get to level 2, and then we need 9 more to get to level 3, which is where you get the custom server invite link.
What the fuck?
So we've had three generous people who have joined up who gave boosts, and then I gave 2.
No way. Do boosts cost money?
Yeah, you can bundle it with Nitro if you get
Do you
Discord
get the
Nitro.
money?
No.
What? No, of course, fucking
I don't
Discord.
know.
you get
I don't
like-
know how Discord works.
Dude, I don't know how Discord works either, but you get extra emotes, which we haven't taken advantage of quite yet. That's on the future. We get 100 emoji slots. We get 24 soundboard slots, neither of which we've used. We can do an animated server icon, and we get better audio quality.
Okay.
All right, Rush, hold up. Let's do it. Get Animated with Rushley.
Yep.
That's the jingle.
Yeah.
All right, take us through it.
and all that. Yeah, so get animated. It's been a while since we've talked about anime on this.
Yeah.
Basically, I've been watching a couple, I suppose, at the moment. There's Frieren with Beyond.
Is that the
Journey's End.
official pronunciation?
I believe so. It is a German word. Maybe it might be more like I don't know. But that's a good one. I've been enjoying that one a lot. It's about an elf. Yeah.
Okay.
Chad, you should watch that one. It's pretty good. Other than
All
that, I don't know what I've been watching. I've been watching. I started watching a little bit of Shield Hero season 3. Chad, you watched some Shield Hero back in the day?
Is this the dude with the harem of like fucking wizard and pixie chicks?
Yes, actual slaves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 1 was actually.
And they're all in love with
semi-okay. Yeah. Well, that's how animes go. The second season was absolute dog shit. Season 3, I've only watched 3 episodes. It was like okay, but I don't even know why I'm watching it. But there's that. Other than that, actually, I don't think I have a lot. Just watch Frieren, really. Oh, Jujutsu Kaisen's good. Season 2, very good, enjoyable.
All right, this is a great episode of getting
animated.
Get animated.
Get animated.
Yeah. Well, we're very animated about this. All right,
But
Rush.
I remember Yanko. He said last time that he hadn't indulged. So I was wondering if in these last 6 months, however long it's been, if he actually has watched anything yet, or
Not really.
What do you think?
I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really expand. I'm yet to finish Attack on Titan now that it's all out.
Oh shit, that's what I should
it has
finish.
finished. I need
yeah.
to finish
So I have to finish that, and then we'll see. Who knows?
All right. Well,
I'll probably
just
get back
so
to you in
everyone-
Katowice, and then we'll see. Maybe you can recommend me
All right.
one.
Maybe
Chainsaw-
Katowice, we do a
Chainsaw
little-
Man.
Yeah, Chainsaw Man's good. Maybe at Katowice we do a little watch party together.
Yeah, that's gonna
little
happen.
anime watch party, or you can come to my room, or I'll go to yours and watch some anime.
Yeah.
Actually, he's given us a great segue, Rush, by accident.
Go on.
Well, do you remember when we were in Copenhagen?
Of
We might have
course.
talked
Which
about
time?
this before.
Which time?
Doing the TV2
course,
stuff,
yes,
and
of
we'd all
course.
go back to one. Remember, Yanko,
Oh,
we'd all
yeah,
go back
yeah.
after broadcast. We go back to someone's room, and we'd we made Alex sit on the floor because he'd always spill the sandwich everywhere. But everyone else was allowed on or around the bed, and we'd all just kind of sit in someone's room watching TV after broadcast, eating these fucking delicious sandwiches.
Simpler
I
times.
I was producing the night.
Oh, you were doing NA.
Yeah,
He was with me.
producing. Okay.
And Trace.
Countdown 3, 2, 1, and Jason, you can talk. Yeah. Those
Okay.
are the days.
Those were the days.
Is that how you produced?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
Were you actually in people's ear?
Of course, I was in people. I was.
You've never been.
I don't.
In my
I don't.
ear.
I don't
Actor.
actually really remember Russia's producer, to be honest with you.
was.
Those shows that took place from 11 p.m. until 6 a.m. with no food, I've memory holders. I remember coming in and there'd be a nice catering spread for the European day shift, and we'd be like, okay, so when does our food come at 2, 3 in the morning? Like, oh yeah, nowhere's open, so you guys don't really get to eat.
What did we get for lunch? No, we definitely got dinner. I mean,
You guys
I
did have
remember-
breakfast after at the hotel.
They left the leftovers from European catering out
Oh
for
my
us.
God.
That was it.
No. We had I remember we definitely had our own. Oh, how did it work? I don't remember how it worked, but I remember the food that we did get there was really good. Well, I don't know.
No, they made some weird shit.
Not for the
Like,
talent. That must have been a production thing because we didn't get shit. We didn't
No
get
way.
dick. I started making them add a sandwich onto their order in the afternoon that I could have.
This is when we were on Facebook and nobody even knew that we were there.
Yeah,
so it's like,
nothing
it's
like
just
being
a
on
black
a
hole
4
of
a.m. broadcast to 17 people and just being like, "What am I even doing?"
Getting paid, Jason. That is the answer.
Nobody was watching. It was like that was the wildest time. Like, and we were still going in there, and we had like a Halloween one there. I remember I got dressed up with something. We had makeup on.
You guys
looking
dressed
fucking
Pimp up
zombies and shit.
like a princess or something, didn't you? And they made him take
No,
it
it was.
off?
I think he was doing Marilyn Monroe.
Close enough.
Not Marilyn Manson. And then he wasn't allowed to do it. I think.
Yeah,
I think
the
he-
Danish
I think
people
he-
told him that. So
Yeah, they canned it. They can. They really don't have. They didn't like it over there in Denmark. I did Hamish and Andy Pants Off Friday, and that didn't go down too well. I had Brian Kramer saying he expected better from me. I'm like, get a
believe he
fucking
did
sense of
that.
humor, cunt. Yeah, well, who cares, man?
I wish
People
I was
see
in charge back then. I would have taken you over the coals, bro. That's for sure.
over the coals, mate. Yeah. Oh dear. All right, Rush.
I would've
You want to get out of
sent you
here?
I can do, yeah, I suppose so. But I wanted to quickly say, we just did get animated or whatever. So if you've got any get animated stuff, put it in the get animated channel. That's on the Discord. We just need a few more boosts, on the Discord. And we can do something. I don't know.
Fucking hell.
perfect.
All right, Rush. It's been great hearing from you again.
All right, no worries.
Thank you, Rush.
Who do I-
I look-
who do I- what-
Send it to me,
Jason,
dog.
What file format? MP3 or
WAV.
Give me a WAV. Give me a WAV.
A WAV file. A
Yeah.
WAV file. It might take a while to upload, though, man.
Yeah, take your time.
All right.
We got plenty of time.
Is that to the usual email?
To
as
the
well?
usual email as well. Yeah.
All right. I might send it. I might forget. So maybe you message me.
I'll
in
ping
5
you after.
hours
I'll
and
come
then-
find you on TeamSpeak after
okay.
this.
All right. We'll see. I might be able to manage that.
All right, peace.
Okay.
If you could do it now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks,
I
Rush.
might.
Cool. All right. Bye, Rush.
See ya.
All right. See you later. How do I close Discord? Oh,
Just hit the telephone button.
hang on. I'm going to task manager.
He is right. Actually, hit the telephone button.
All right,
That
see
seems
you
like a
later.
good.
Bye.
See
See ya.
you, Rush. Oh,
He's done it.
Whoa, it was good to have him back.
It was.
He was a bit miffed. He said, he's like, I was talking to him today. He's like, you haven't had me on in ages. Like, well, I tweeted at you the other day about coming on, and you didn't come on. He's like, yeah, but you didn't follow up. I was like, I don't know how much I have to do here. I get the invitation out there.
Yeah.
Do I have to fucking do everything? I guess.
It's
But
not my responsibility.
I'm glad we heard from him again. He had a lot to say today. So yeah, that was Rushley. Where do we even go from here?
I have somewhere for us to go. I'm working on getting it into action at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
We have another
focus on.
we have another surprise little guest coming in to talk about, because now we get a shift into Counter-Strike conversation.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But there's the issue is that we've got this Discord going now, so there's a lot to talk about with that. We're getting questions fucking consistently, which is great. It's a very active Discord. We got like fucking 400 plus people in there. Jason, you've done a bloody bang up job, mate. You've really dedicated your life and potentially livelihood to being a Discord admin. How do you feel?
It's been a fun little learning experience. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been interesting. A little stressful at times in terms of getting
Why?
everything. Well, because dude, it's like there's a lot of you have to set up all the channels, and then you have to set up all the roles, and then you have to set up each individual channel with with each role having different levels of access. You got to set up the different bots. So you're working on Discord with bots, and then you're going to the bot website. So it was one of those things where it's not necessarily difficult. It was just a lot of detailed, busy work that just took time,
Okay. So stressful.
Well, we appreciate
Yank,
you,
have you
Jason, for taking the time and making it all happen.
Yeah,
someone
thanks.
has to
It's
do
been
it.
fun though. I mean, it was fun this weekend. I was much more active over the weekend than I thought, and it was cool being able to tweak things as they came along. Had to change a few things, add a few things.
I enjoyed it on the.
There it is.
Oh,
Here's the next thing.
Hello.
Yeah, but how are we going to
right,
pull this off?
so-
Because we're going to need to get.
Yeah.
Are we going to stop recording?
No. Keep recording.
Okay.
Joona, are you recording on Audacity?
I am.
Cool. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna do a clap on 3. Natu. You ready?
All right.
You remember how to do this. You've been part of a media day. 1, 2, 3, clap. Perfect.
Fucking hell, this is going to be a nightmare to sync up, Jason.
No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna.
Also,
I think
I do
I can
broadcast.
handle it.
Don't worry. I know how to clap.
Jason's so confident about this.
I'm loving
Natu,
it.
we're a bunch of fucking baboons over here who have no idea what we're doing half the time, and we're out here now re-syncing in the middle of an episode. Like this is gonna be fucking banana.
It might work out, it might not, but this is how you learn. You challenge yourself. You know, you put an obstacle in your path and try and overcome it.
Listen, I've heard that an AI actually does the editing, so...
That's true.
It helps. It takes out the background noise and does all the leveling. I think Jason still has to sync it up, though, right?
Yeah,
Jason
I do have to
sync
sync it up.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does everything else. But you do a lot of Finnish stuff right now too. Over the, so I've seen like people. I read something the other day. I was like, yeah, Joona said on TikTok. I was like, sorry, what?
Yeah, dude, I did too. I was like, what is Natu doing on TikTok?
TikTok?
That's a good question, actually. I've had this idea for a long time, especially for the Finnish community. There's a lot of knowledge and things, talked about in English, but there's very little in Finnish for the Finnish audience. So, me being me, I was thinking about this for a while that maybe I should start a TikTok because that's where a lot of the youngsters are nowadays, right? And kind of talk about different topics. So I just started a TikTok account. I made a video about, hey, ask me anything you want to know about esports, about ENCE, about Counter-Strike, whatever. And then that story just keeps on going. People leave me questions and I keep answering questions that I feel like could be interesting to a wider audience to answer to. So
Is this a personal TikTok or is this like an ENCE organization TikTok?
No, it's me, my own.
I might legit just steal your idea and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, you
That
should.
actually sounds,
Serbian.
that actually sounds like pretty smart and cool.
Are you doing like?
Who
Are
would've
you
thought?
having yourself talking on one half and then like some fucking race car going down a track or someone like surfing in Counter Strike on the other half, or is it? How are you keeping the youngsters' attention?
That's a good question. I mean, for whatever reason, I keep doing this. Like the longest form, I think the longest one you can do is 3 minutes for those, and most of my clips are 3 minute long, and I get
You
like
can hit
decent
that
views.
Easy.
Actually, a funny thing is that the most watched TikTok I've made was about my sim rig, about racing stuff. So that's actually pretty funny when you
Shit.
say. But it was mostly because it was about how much does it cost to get one of these things that I have.
Holy shit, you do get decent views. One of the more recent videos up here, 140. Okay. There's the one that's pinned.
yeah.
Okay, what you were saying, 100, almost 150K. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What is going on?
But yeah, we also do a Finnish podcast. Me and Robu, who's he does like Finnish commentary and analysis stuff. So me and him have this pastime, just for fun kind of project where we do podcasts like every 2 weeks in Finnish.
Okay. I'm looking this up now. Fucking, you're doing everything, mate. What is going on? How do you have time for this shit?
It's a good question. Ask my wife.
Yeah, okay. You're doing everything else. That makes sense. Jason, do you have the same situation going on over there at home?
No, I mean, not to you have what? You have 4 kids, 3 kids?
Oh, that's right.
3 kids.
I've one. So I mean,
And 2 dogs, though, Jason.
I do have 2 dogs, but my time management is a little bit simpler. I think with 1 kid, it can be difficult at times. 2 kids is like an exponential increase in difficulty. 3 kids is just like holy fuck.
But hey, my
Like-
oldest one already plays Counter-Strike, so
Yeah, and your kids could probably start teaching you about TikTok now too.
that's true, yeah. About different filters, how to look younger.
Fuck. It's getting grim out there, man.
Well-
This all right.
Speaking of looking younger, you probably need that assistance because ENCE's had some. You had a stressful time.
I'd say so.
If we talked about this the other day. If you were to make a book about this entire saga that you just went through over the past week, what would you title the book? What would be like the name of the book?
Oof. Someone actually gave me some banger ideas on Twitter. I should look this up because I wrote up a tweet saying that, people were asking like that 2018-19 ENCE that I should write a book, and talk about it and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, that could be a cool idea. Plus on top of it, obviously talk about all the past, like 20 plus years doing this stuff. But then I realized that it would be like a trilogy at this point, to start writing about my time in esports. But let me look it up. This guy had some excellent ideas for names.
Yeah, because you guys had like the craziness of like the 2019 ENCE run at Katowice, and then you had that whole team implosion, and then you have this incredible run out of
All right.
COVID that you've had with it. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one would be the Fellowship of the Louvre Agreement. The second one would be
Okay.
the two TOs.
Okay.
And the third one would be Return of the Greed.
Oh, there's some nice
I
ones in
love
there.
it. Good old Lord of the Rings reference. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that was actually a Blair was answering to my tweet saying the esports loader. So, yeah, those are some bangers actually.
Yeah, that's great. Well, how did this whole situation, this most recent one, I guess?
Well, what I want to know is basically, how many days or maybe hours did you have to like sort everything out around the roster? Like how quickly did things move?
I think about like pretty much the whole week for the most of the week for the World Finals was just like a war room going on behind the scenes, basically. But things started really kind of transpiring towards the tail end of the week. So, like, I would say, majority of the things started happening Thursday onwards. So basically, between Thursday and Sunday. So like, if we go back to like the time when I was on HLTV Confirmed, and talking about the future or whatnot, at that point in time, I was very optimistic that we could retain like the majority of the lineup. Yeah, it was very possible we would lose a piece, possibly, but to have a rebuild of this size was not something I anticipated at the time, considering all the things that were surrounding it. But then, like, eventually, like, it all kind of happened between like 4 days. And the real kicker was that on Friday I was just casually doing shopping with the wife, and my phone rings, and I'm like, and I get told that everything, like, shit's going down now, and the kicker is that we need to announce everything over the weekend because of all the roster logs, the Katowice points, and this, that, and the other. So then we were having like these different war rooms. One which was sports management side, looking at the potential opportunities we have, and one side was thinking about the communication, and how do we actually like put this out there. We decided to go with the route of trying to be as transparent as we can. Obviously, having to make sure that we don't cross any lines in terms of contracts and whatnot, but still, trying to be as transparent as possible. Feels like the best policy. And then, we just spent the evenings kind of thinking through like how do we go about this, and things were changing. I don't want to go into too much detail, obviously, just to respect everyone, but like there were obviously like moving parts all over the place, and it's interesting.
So on that Friday that you're talking about, at that point you already started talks with Nine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, so it's not at that point that everything turned around and you're like, shit, we need a team.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of different different choices we could make, for sure. And we lost some opportunities due to some factors. Again, I don't want to go too much into it, but I think we're first of all, I just want to put this out there that we're happy with what we ended up with. But like, if we wanted to go the route of building something completely new, the big kicker and the big risk is the fact that you have about 7 days after the player break before the Open RMR qualifiers kick in. And that's a massive risk to take, right?
Yeah, if you like piecemeal a team and you don't have any like officials to get under your belt, and you've minimal practice to build a map pool. Yeah, that's aggressive.
And there's no guarantee that will work either, right? So there's no guarantees in anything you do, effectively, right? It's always the best guesstimate.
Yeah, so did you sort out any Polish teacher for Glaive already, or how's that going? I like how he played it off as well, changed his name to Lukasz and all of that stuff.
We're already working on a Duolingo partnership, so we are creating an AI that will translate from Danish to Polish in real time. That's in the works.
Connect that to the team speak in your matches.
No, yeah. I know. Looking outside in, and it, obviously for me, when I think about it, it feels comical that it's the situation kind of where it landed. But at the same time, this was signed off by him, and he was very positive about this. And I mean, it's all about a matter of obviously like setting boundaries and rules of communication and whatnot. And I mean, I totally understand that people outside looking in are going to think looks weird, but hey, it's just another challenge to take on.
Bro, when Glaive signed to the team, in your perspective, how much of a chance was there that this was all going to go down? Like, how sudden was all this? You know, like, as he joins the team and then it's like, oh, everyone's gone. You
were mega transparent. Like, that was the reason you wanted to come, because like we obviously, like, he was considering that factor, and he put, like, he hesitated for a second and had to think it through. But because we were super transparent of the situation, he knew exactly what was going on in each situation. That's why he wanted to come. Also, because like in here, he gets to be also like very hands-on in terms of deciding what happens in the future when change happens, because there's only one thing that is actually that always stays, and it's change. It will eventually happen one way or the other, right? So I mean, it's hard to put a number on it, like a percentage, you know, how likely it was.
But it was apparent that the possibility was there.
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
100%.
But what do you think changed though, right? Because as you're saying, when you came on HLTV, there was already the Snappy Sauce situation which had happened, and then there's been rumors for quite a while about like Sampai's potentially going to Falcons or whatever, but it felt like that had been done with. And then this all just kicked off again, right? And then Sampai's ends up going to Falcons. So does Madden, right? Nerds over there to Heroic. I guess it was one of these things where if, you know, more people are going, then why the fuck don't we all go? Or like, did they give any reasons as to why everyone just bailed at the tail end of this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a certain chronological order, and like when one domino falls, then the others will follow one way or the other. I think the big factor was Nerds, a player that pretty much all of them wanted to play, and I feel like that core, Nerds and Modern and Sampai's, those three especially kind of felt like they have a good thing cooking. Yeah, I mean, with Modern, the contract was expiring. His contract was going to be out at the end of this year. So his negotiations were sort of on hold because of the fact things were uncertain with Nerds. And as we said in our statement, Nerds had a buyout clause in his contract. So if there was an organization that was, you know, willing to pay for the amount of money that was set in the contract, he could go. But of course, also we tried to battle back. We offered him very, very, very good offer, but eventually he decided to go down that route of going to Heroic, and that then decided for Modern that he wanted to look elsewhere. And then at that point in time, we were in a situation where we were in full rebuild mode, and in which, yes, we could have technically kept on Sampai's for sure, but then like I said, you know, that would have meant that we went into a whole situation where we needed to get a completely new core anyway. So open qualifier would have been, you know, whole the whole process. So then we decided that it was the, you know, kind of the best situation for us was to try to acquire a core that we would work with, and the core has an opera, right? So.
And Hades is now back in it.
Yeah, Hades is back.
Yeah,
I like that. Hades been playing good lately. I like Hades.
A lot of moving parts. I mean, it's never black and white. It's never super simple.
Can you, without violating anything, can you talk about some of the levers you have from like the organizational POV in terms of when you say you offered like a really good contract? Like, we know obviously salary is always going to be a big factor, but you know, you guys have some other tools that you can use to incentivize inside the contract, like you know, percentage of sticker money. Like, what kind of levers do you guys have to work with that you can kind of adjust the value of a contract?
Yeah, I mean, bonus models for sure are a part of today's contracts. I think that will become the norm as well. You know, it's kind of silly to pay for players just for breathing. You know, you want them to be performing, and you want to be building teams that are successful, so they will earn those bonuses as well. And I can say that the players we've had over, like the team we had, you know, they were making good money. You know, they were definitely not in a bad situation economically speaking, for sure. Yes, for sure, we're not going to be able to offer the best base salary out there compared to some of these teams that don't necessarily kind of follow the same world economic standards as we have to live by, or limitations. But then again, we can definitely compensate through different performance models. And if we do well, the team does well, and we most definitely want to then compensate that really, really well to the players as well.
So things like world ranking give like a bonus, like finishes at the major give a bonus, sticker money increases, all that, those kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure. Like bumping up salaries if we're in during a major cycle, or
Cool.
being high up in the ranks, things of that nature.
What was the fuckery like? Was there a lot of fuckery going on? Like, what are these orgs that you had to deal with? Like,
Would you classify things as fuckery?
I thought you were going to elaborate a little bit more what the fuckery meant.
No, I don't really. Oh, look, this is the thing. I don't know dealing with any of these people, right? Like, I just get to hear different bits and bobs from over the place, but you don't really know what it's like. And it's a cutthroat business. People are out here trying to fucking get things as cheap as possible. Or I'm just curious to see how it felt from your end.
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to like I feel like this kind of started already in October, like without us even knowing the fuckery, as you put it nicely. All of a sudden, like,
Is that because of Falcons?
not only Falcons.
Okay.
There was a team that was heroic, the rebuild mode as well, especially. And yeah, of course, I mean, I think Falcons is kind of what kicked this all off. And I, like, in the big picture, going back to last summer when a lot of the VC-backed teams, especially the American ones, started falling down, those kind of imaginary castles that they have built over the years, thinking of revenue streams being a totally different place come this time, they haven't come into fruition. And the world economy was in a bad spot, so a lot of the teams were losing their funding. They had to cut on people. Some of them had to even stop operations altogether. We were thinking at that point in time that finally there's going to be some sanity in this business. More and more. And in terms of like budgeting and costs, it's going to kind of level out to like something that actually makes sense. But then. Psych, here comes the Saudi. Someone mentioned Saudi money, and then agents lost their shit, players lost their shit.
Agents had already lost their shit. They just lost their shit more.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, that's a topic. That's a topic we could go on for a while for sure. But yeah,
expose them, Natu.
I mean,
burn down the agents.
Yeah.
Mate, some of the shit I've heard is like fucking hell.
Yeah, no, some of the things it felt like I'll be honest here. It feels to me sometimes from not even only from our dealings, but obviously being on the team side, I hear a lot of things. I talk with people, and it feels like sometimes the agents and how they're incentivized to where their players should go, it feels like they just leave some details kind of untold to the player, or some factors that might actually have a decisive factor on their thinking of where they should be in the future. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting sometimes. Not obviously doesn't apply to everyone. And then there's some of them that come with these ridiculous demands to start with. So you have such a long way to negotiate. So you take 3 weeks of cutting through the bullshit before we actually get to talk about the actual things in the contract, right? It's like this is just a joke almost. But imagine there's a line in the contract asking for home delivered Evian water every day, that type of bullshit, that makes zero sense.
No, right? We have not gotten there.
I know, but we haven't got there. We haven't got
Okay.
there. But that's kind of paint a picture of like that a lot of bullshit you have to cut through before you actually get into the actual nitty gritty.
Which means there must be something which isn't too far off of an example like that, though. So we can have a think. we can think. Maybe a mouse pad delivered every week,
Sure.
A brand new span. I don't know. That okay? All right. So you're copping it from all sides essentially, and we know that most orgs have a hard time making money in the first place. So it feels like it's a fun spot for you to find yourself in. You enjoy your job?
I do. I mean, if I didn't, I would be doing something else, bro. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
I mean, there's a lot of things I could do.
I mean, as As stressful as it was, I imagine the chaos of those like 72 hours is kind of like, it's like kind of fucking energizing when like shit's hitting the fan from all directions, and like that probably lights a fire under the whole office. That's probably like, as stressful as it is, probably a really exciting time to be involved in the process.
You know, it makes me proud of the hires we've done, the people I work with. I'm really proud of everyone I work with. You know, just the kind of camaraderie we have inside the office. You know, that's what I feel. You know, that we have such a cool group of people on all different aspects of the company, and everyone's willing to pull through and come in at 10 p.m. Even if they're in a house party, you know, they'll come into a call we're having just to listen in and you know, read through drafts of statements we're going to be putting out, you know.
Well, now we know how the fuck you signed this new roster, though. Some guy was at a house party, wasted, and like, yo, Polska Górą, like, that's just quick. Hades back. Let's get those two other guys. Get goofy. You know, Jason's gonna do the laugh that he loves doing. The laugh. There you go. You know, and like, let's just fucking bring all the boys back. We get Glaive to learn Polish. You know, and that's it. No, I'm trolling, but yeah, I mean, it's great to hear. You get that feel about the organization just from the outside looking in. And what's interesting, though, in everything you said, it seems like it was kind of all, you know, the first, I don't know how to say this because the first domino is the most important one, but the first important domino really was like the nerds thing, because if he was willing to stay, then you could have kept the core of him, Madden, and Sampaios, right? And then you have Dicha and Glaive. That's like a pretty, you know, that's a super sick team. So what, and you said you offered him like good terms. So did he give you like any reasoning of why he didn't want to stay with the team?
Not that I know of specifically. I mean, he was talking even during this process, you know, we had them in Finland, right, for the Elisa Masters and everything. I talked to him. He was praising everything we do. He liked the support staff we have. You know, he liked the surroundings. He likes the team. He was praising Lucas. You know, everyone loved him, you know, coming in and saying, like, you know, he's the real deal. And this can be a great thing. But then, you know, you can do the talk, but then you have to do the walk. And obviously, you know, I'm not going to be here and not say that he got a banger offer from Heroic for sure. You know, he's gonna be happy walking to the bank. But in comparison, what we were offering wasn't too bad either. So I mean, we all make our choices for different reasons, and whatever his reason is, I can't tell you. Maybe he believes in Eetu Saw, you know, an extra mile or something, whatever. But I mean, I can't tell for, you know, for his sake why he chose this route. But from what I gathered, you know, it felt until the very end that, you know, there was everything here that he could hope for to build the next chapter again in his career.
Because he's kind of starting from scratch again with this Heroic team, right? Like, you look at the players they have on that roster, I think like Nerds and Shush, okay, that's some good pieces to start with. They just signed Nikodos. Well, this is the thing,
and
right?
Tesses,
This is
come on, man, give me a break. The ENCE roster with Glaive it just ends with Glaive instead of Snappy and Kuben instead of Saul. Like, that's a way better team than fucking Kiksan, Tesses, Shush, Nerds, and Nikodos. Unless that's like unless that's like what's being like the team for just this major cycle, and then they're promising to bring I don't know who after that, but I don't know.
But that's the thing, though.
Sampaios
there would have been
Nikodos by like twice. He's twice the player.
There would have been roster changes after the next major anyway, right? So like, why the urgency to do it now? There definitely would have been roster changes after the next major. We have a long lead time into the final major of the year.
ENCE roster could have been really competitive right now. I mean, okay, right now, like after they actually have some time to practice and starting next season. Not a blast team.
Yeah, I hope people don't.
So for Katowice, you know.
But I hope people don't look at like what happened at the World Finals and judge like what that roster could have been off of that, because you could tell just with the way they were playing, it was fucking done. You could see that there was. It's not that there wasn't any interest. It's just that there were other things going on. And when the roster's changing and you're trying to go somewhere else, and you
saw ENCE's T-side ratings with Glaive, and they just decided they wanted to get the fuck out. That was what caused it, Chad. Actually,
but that's the thing, right? Like, I'm sure some people probably would jump to that conclusion, right? Like
some people did jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, and but it's one of these things that I think obviously money plays a big factor, and when you think about, I want to say how short how old is Nerds? He can't be that old. What is he? 23,
24.
He's young.
22?
He's young. He's
having a look right now.
24.
24. Okay,
Still a young lad.
Yeah, so he's still definitely got at least 6 years ahead of him, and especially with how good he is as a player. Look. The money side of things going over to Heroic, right? If it was substantially more, by the sounds of things, you're saying that it would have been, well, not
Listen, like if
not parody, but
yeah, I'll just say this: like when like one of the things that these players don't necessarily always think about, they're not great at math. I'll just put it this way.
What if he doesn't make the major?
There's that. That's very unlikely at this point. Let's be real. Just looking at the freaking closed qualifier for the major, it looks like almost like a
mental
major lineup of teams, right? Like from some of the years going back. But I think one of the things that people start staring at what you're making monthly, but they're not considering what it could be annually with everything added up. If you believe in the project, if you have the components to be successful. And that's something you should consider.
Yeah, if you're winning, you're going to make more money, right?
More.
Like if you're actually doing well.
Yeah, well, then here's also where I imagine the intersection with agents comes in too, because I imagine agents get paid based off like base salary and guaranteed salary, and don't really get a cut of the incentives.
Or like sign-up bonuses or some dumb bullshit.
Bro, when I heard that the agents are getting a percentage of players' salaries, I was out. I was like, this is fucking, what the fuck are these players doing? Some players give 10% of their salary to the agent. Like, fucking hell, we need more agencies then who are not going to rob the players.
I think well, we know from talking to Henry that he had a pretty rough time with agents, right? Like, and that things sounded pretty fucked from his. Yeah. In general, like it was not a great time for him to be picking up a project like that, and then the fallout of that has been people just pointing fingers.
What did you think, Natu, of his? I mean, you haven't employed it yourself, so I guess there's also almost an answer. But his idea of having salaries and contracts the terms be a little bit more public and a little bit more transparent to the community.
I mean, I'm not mega opposed against it, really, to be honest with you. I mean, I live in a country where everyone's income is public knowledge.
Yeah, that's right. You can check the books, right?
Yeah, you can check
literally
books.
everyone, like everyone.
Yeah, you can check my salary if you really wanted to go down that rabbit hole. There's nothing to really say there, but that would make anyone jealous. Actually, they would just laugh at me, like, oh, "What the fuck is this guy doing this job?" If anything, really. But yeah, I mean, I live in a country where there's always this thing called the tax day, which happens I think it's like November, where all the tax information from previous year becomes knowledge for everyone's income, and it's like all over the tabloids. It's that one day a year as a Finn you don't open any tabloids.
So they make news out of that. That's fucking damn. Okay,
you could
you
can search. There's like a search engine, like you look at like, hey. Like if a certain, I think the threshold for like what is reported by the tabloids is 100K a year. Basically, you can like check your neighbors' names. Have they made that threshold?
Fucking hell! So if you're going out with someone and they're splitting bills, and you want to see, just how stingy they're being in a year's time, you can go and check how much money they made in a year and go, this fucking guy wasn't willing to pay for a glass of wine. Okay, all right. Well, that's all right. All right, that's interesting. I don't think that exists here in Malta. I'll say that much.
Well, yeah, or Serbia.
Yeah, or where Jason's from.
Yeah.
Some of it comes from, not to that extent, but yeah, some of it gets
only if you're Donald Trump.
I was going to say it's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Can you touch on Natu, because you can give an interesting perspective too with all the agreements, like the Louvre agreement and the Blast partnerships kind of ending in 2025. You guys notoriously don't have that Blast partnership, but can you talk like what is the big effect that you guys are looking at in saying, is this like an oh shit moment for team organization, or is this kind of like, okay, like we can find a way to transition out of this? Because I mean, those are pretty beneficial in terms of payouts to teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of both. It's kind of an oh shit moment, but it's also like, okay, we need to figure this out, and for the sake of the game also, because let's think back. Let's all kind of close our eyes for a second and think back to the time before. any of these agreements and what life was like back then, and what's the reason for establishing these kind of partnerships was. It was one, to try and build economical sustainability in this game, and two, it was to try and create a calendar where people are not burning out as much. Well, I'm not sure if we achieve either of those completely, but at least there's a bit more predictability into the future, right? In both aspects, more than having nothing, right? So we're going to be entering an era in 2025 as of right now. Obviously, things can change over the next 12 months, and I'm pretty sure like some of the things might change in the future. It's just me speculating. But we're talking roughly anything like, I'm kind of throwing out numbers right out there, but anything between 500,000 to 1.5 million a year that teams are going to be down, that they need to figure out how to get, right? And my problem there is that, there might be teams and there might be teams who might have to do desperate things. I think as an example, go for sponsorships they wouldn't otherwise go. We've seen like some examples already surfacing, how it's a bit of a delicate subject to take on any partners with some Russian background, for example. We saw like
some of these gambling sponsors, right?
Yeah, as an example, right? So you have to kind of figure that out somehow, right? So that kind of scares me for sure, and that we need to figure it out, because as in the big picture, I don't like the way that things are going right now, and we need to figure out how do we make that gap back, right? And I'm sure like over the next 12 months, there's a lot of smart people considering and thinking about things and trying to figure out, what the next thing is that can be done that is compliant with the Valve rules. But as of right now, it is kind of going into an unknown and going back to that time before we had any of these leaks. And I mean, let's be honest, it's easy for me to say since we're not a Blast team, but this is 99% because of Blast and how they've set up their circuit, being exclusive only for the most, like 99% of it. That I'm opposed, like I'm totally against that. And that's why I was very happy to see Marco go ham on Blast a lot of the time, because it is putting teams on uneven ground in terms of like how are we ever going to be, like, for example, as an ENCE, like we would never be able to be a ranked number 1 team in the world, not being a Blast team, unless we win like a major, as an example, because we don't get those Blast points. Us getting into the Blast World Finals of 2022 was a fucking joke and a half. Let's be real.
Oh, that's right. Like it was just a couple of points or something.
Yeah, we
wasn't
lost
it?
OG.
Yes, well, they obviously did well at both Blast group stages that you guys had no chance to be able to compete.
That's the only
on.
thing they did. They just did well in groups that year.
Yeah. So that
Which is essentially exhibition matches.
yeah. And
Except for them and Big and I guess EG or MIBR at the time. Every other team like treats it as a boot camp for the better part.
Sorry, where were you going, Matt?
I'm not even sure anymore. But I was just ranting about the fact that, I mean, I am totally against the fact that there's exclusive only kind of stuff. For sure, we need to have a circuit where there's opportunity. Should there be a circuit where a partnership should be, you could apply for a partnership by not with paying like an X amount of money, but instead of showing that you're competitive, you have a structure, you have an organization that's healthy, operating in a healthy manner. And that way, take out the fact that there's a monetary value to the spot itself, right? Well, could that be a solution as an example? I don't know.
I don't know if you can speak more to this, right? But earlier in the year when Valve announced their changes, right? Mr. Uli Schultz, the flying DJ, for those people playing at home, he made a tweet. And he said, and this is in regards to the changes for 2025, he said, "We will shift our tournament revenue sharing model from selected teams to all teams participating starting in 2025. We'll announce more details on this in the coming months." Now, obviously, that is going to take a while for that type of information to come out. And maybe that tweet's not even pertinent anymore. Maybe things have changed and that won't be the case. But if that is the case, and Blast and ESL, when they're running their events, are still able to offer like incentive structures, which I think need to be made public, right? Like if there is revenue share and you're playing in their events, then I think that was part of that was this type of information needs to be public to the people playing at home, so they understand why you would want to play in an ESL or a Blast over whoever else pops their head up come 2025, which could be anybody under the sun. But is that something that could work? Like what you're saying, having teams that show that, hey, we are a functioning organization, that we're healthy and we're competitive, the main thing. We don't want any more of this fucking EG bullshit in our lives, right? And then you're in an ESL event and then you're selecting, right? Because over the course of the year, one of the keys to what you've brought up is all the burnout and stuff that existed pre the franchise period of time. Well, one of the keys to stopping that is if people have choice and they can make choices where they're still going to be able to collect enough points or whatever it's going to be to qualify for the type of events, the majors, etc. Would something like this, like, would you be more incentivized to go to an ESL event knowing that there is some rev share model?
I mean, that might become an arms race for sure. You know, in that sense, somehow whatever is allowed by the Valve regulation, whatever that is, you know, knowing how impartial Valve wants to be in their game, in the esports side of things, for the most part, you know, you never know. You're kind of always guessing what's okay and what's not, and then you send an email asking, "Is this fine?" And then, you know, they'll tell you either it is or it's not. But I suppose so. I mean, if they made it lucrative and interesting, then I wouldn't see why not. Because, you know, we also have to think about, like, one thing that people forget is that we have to also think about being here 10 years from now. We can't just think of what happens, you know, at the next major, next summer, or next winter break. We have to think also 10 years ahead, right? And kind of that's why we want to make sensible decisions. That's why we haven't jumped into like a million different games also that don't have a structure clearly set up yet. So we don't want to burn $1 million to a game where we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. But it was funny you said transparency, because yeah, I'm completely fine rev shares and everything being being transparent about the income. But it's kind of funny thing that, you know, where's the transparency on the stickers?
Yeah.
There's no transparency.
Well, are you guys allowed to talk about the figures?
We're not allowed to. Like, once you submit it, I literally do it on my own Steam account. Like, I have a book of the last 6 majors and the income from each capsule that we've been a part of. But it says when you submit it that in the agreement that you're not allowed to disclose that information.
Interesting.
So, you know, I'm just asking Valve, you know, why don't you make it also transparent how much teams are making from these majors?
That's interesting. I'd have to go back and reread like what the stuff that Valve released, because it's obviously vague, right? And I imagine they're still working through the details for what's going to happen come 2025. Because one of the things that I think people think is that Valve just are like this holy god and they have all of the answers. They're making things up on the fly just as much as everybody else is, right? And I'm sure they need to have meetings with ESL and Blast and see what's worked and what hasn't worked. And they obviously want things to be as more open as possible to allow as many people to compete in the space, not only for teams, but TOs. But it is just such a difficult tightrope to walk. And I don't mind the fact that, let's say and this is where it becomes more challenging for people like you, Natu, and I apologize, but I don't mind if like every, you know, like 3 to 5 years or whatever, especially if we've given things a decent enough crack and it's not working, or we think there might be a better way, or, you know, we're not, because this is what Valve do. They agitate, right? They agitate to try and
stress testing.
They disrupt.
Yeah, push things. Yeah, push things in the direction that they want it to go, or they try and challenge these people to come up with different methods. Because for us, I know for sitting back, it's like, oh, well, Valve, just work out a way to get more money for the TOs. And it's like, well, one of the things they said to me was like, well, what are they going to do with that money? They're just going to spend it. And they're right. I know that seems like a silly thing to say, but they are just going to spend it. They are just going to stay in the red. It's not like they're going to be, you know, they're not going to be in the black. Their books aren't going to be through the roof. Like, this is stuff where there needs to be a sustainable way for these businesses to be able to live their life. And I don't think that's through Valve just giving them more and more handouts, right? I don't know how we're going to get there. I don't know if we're ever going to get there. I don't know if anybody knows we're ever going to get there, but we have to try different ways. And I guess that's what's happening here. We're looking to try a different way, something that is going to have to be more structured than the pre-pandemic lifestyle, but something that is going to be less lockdown than what we've experienced for the last couple of years. Because you look at these HLTV rankings, and like you're talking about, it's fucked. Like it's just been top heavy to teams who have been in both events for the last couple of years, and then we've been able to have these Frankenstein freak show teams like EG exist and OG, right? And that's just fucking bullshit. That's not what we're here to do. This should be a merit-based situation. And I don't feel like it's been that way for a decent period of time now, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, if you think about the majority of the you say a couple of outliers there, right? EG, I mean, OG hasn't been nearly as bad, obviously. Like, they've been okay, but not super competitive. At least they've tried, you could say. But
shout out to Neo.
Huh?
No, that's a very obscure reference. Go on.
But I was gonna say, like, majority of these teams that are part of these partnerships are still like top tier organizations and have had top tier Counter-Strike teams for the majority of the time of the existence of these partnerships. Am I not correct? Right?
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So I don't have an issue expanding on having more teams as part of it and sharing that revenue stream, but and creating it maybe a different way of selecting these teams and not having like friggin' 7 million whatever was reported, like the was the median buying price for the Louvre agreement expansion slots as an example. Having it like,
did you say 7 million?
Whatever it was something. There was something.
I think the initial ones were like, weren't they like 2 to 4 million? And then I think when they started expanding it, the expansion slots were more expensive. Tommy had
what are we, fucking Call of Duty League or some bullshit? What the fuck?
But
let me check, because Tommy wrote that article that I referenced the other night, and he had it in there. Let's see.
That number was just me throwing it out there, by the way, from the back.
Well, this is, I mean, funnily you said that. This is a selective group with each of the Blast partner teams also being part of EPL, and slots for both EPL and Blast having exchanged hands with an average price of 7 million in the EPL expansion.
Right. Yeah. But yeah.
So that's a tilter.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money. Well, 100%. Like, no, and I can see that some people have an issue with that, and that's completely understandable. And I do welcome like new, proper, good organizations that have good intentions and are operationally healthy and have good means to come and join the party of Counter-Strike. I've been here for 5 years with this game. I don't want it to become a monster only, funded by, let's say, questionable money.
What does operationally healthy mean for an idiot like me?
Jesus Christ, Chad, just running a business is not about how many millions you can burn a year. It's about having the stability of income and expenses. There's some kind of unhealthy balance between those two, right? And
so people who are actually trying to run a business and not just fucking...
I mean, all right. Listen, like, if we think about these teams like that have backing from Russian gambling companies or Saudi money or whatever.
Or just a ton of VC.
Yeah, whatever. Or VC. That money only exists as long as someone says it's fine, you can spend that money. But that money disappears the moment someone says that's enough. I've had enough of this shit. I'll move on to the next thing, right? And then it all just evaporates. In the meantime, you have companies who are running a legitimate business that have certain income and are spending a certain amount. That's there for the long haul. That's there for the long term, And that's what I'm saying. We're trying to be here 10 years from now, not just to have a good time for 2 years and explode the planet a couple times, and cause another esports winter one way or the other, but instead try to do it for the long haul, right? So these are the type of things I think in my head, how do we make this work in the long haul?
The problem is you also had a lot of fucking grifters, so it's normal, like startup or whatever VC money comes in, like you're not expecting to run with a profit for, whatever the term is, a year, 2 years, year and a half, whatever the business plan is, but you use that money to build up a structure so that in 2 or 3 years time you have created revenue streams and you're starting to slowly make money and make more money than you spend, which is the goal of obviously any business. That's the only way that it can function. And these teams have just been, their idea of doing that was to sign the best players and the best teams and coming in with fresh money, right? Obviously inflating the price, inflating the salaries, inflating the transfer prices and everything, where teams who were sane were, starting to get into the danger of not being able to compete with that because they understand it's not sustainable. Like ENCE could do the same thing and run the company into the ground in like a year's time, right?
Easily.
Because it's just not there. So no company or no investor in the world is just going to give you cash to burn indefinitely, because that's not how they got to have that cash to begin with. They got it by building sound businesses for the most part, but lately people get money in all sorts of ways.
So how overinflated is everything right now then? Because that's been another big conversation,
yeah,
right?
I mean, it all kind of depends on the world economy. Amount of marketing spend that is available for people to grab. And we all know that the world economy is not in a great space right now, or in a situation. That means that there will be less marketing spend. It means that companies that heavily rely on marketing spend are going to struggle, right? And I know for a
marketing's
fact
always the first money that disappears when there's some kind of like a economic crash, right? Like that was the big thing about like the original esports downfall, like after CGS, you know, when that went down. Wasn't like in like 2009, 2010 was like all the marketing money disappeared.
2008, the housing market.
Yeah, I mean, also like just something that will bore listeners to death probably, but like before, like I know a lot of bridges have been burnt with big brands coming into esports, expecting like massive returns in terms of visibility, in terms of actual customer acquisition from numbers that are just, you know, someone kind of came up with those numbers instead of actually relying on data. And that's kind of changed nowadays. Things are much more data reliant and heavy. You actually have to like really showcase that what you can deliver instead of opening up a good old classic Newzoo report from a few years back. Showing how massively big esports is going to be by 2025.
Or valuing like every esports org at like 800 million.
I just saw Blast like tweet something about, the Blast Major had 50,000 fans live and ESL does it as well for their events. It's like they just combine, like they did it for the Rio Major. They just combine, like if the arena can have 15,000 people and it's been 3 days, we've had 45,000 people. It's like, no. You know, I mean, I'm sure you can measure it in different ways and then present it, but that's like, you know, you're trying to make it all sound so grand, and that inevitably all that shit, like, you know, the chickens come to roost. Like, yeah, if those are the numbers you're presenting, well, we're not seeing those numbers like really transpire in reality, you know, in terms of new customers for those sponsors and whatnot, and then they're just like, we're out. And we're back at square one, really.
Can I circle this back to a little bit more of like the CS ecosystem, Natu, where you kind of mentioned like about these league partnership agreements, and you said, you know, let's transport back to before they existed, in like kind of the burnout and the crazy schedule that players and teams and everyone had, and all the problems that induced. How, if you go back to like, if we go back to a model where there's not these partnership agreements, how much from an organizational perspective, how many like are you pushing for teams to attend more events because you need the visibility on the brand, and you need everyone, you need to be, you know, you need the ENCE logo on the screen and things like that? Like, the conversation back then was like players have a choice to attend events, and players would say, no, actually the org is making us attend a certain number of events. And I know it's different for every organization, but how much of a motivating factor is that from a team perspective to say we have to be at X number of events?
I would be lying if I said that it wasn't a factor. Of course it is. You know, I mean, they're partners, and you know, they like their logos being seen in broadcast. A lot of eyeballs, right? And even on top of that, you know, we're going back to that 2019 time when ENCE was first popping off, and quite a good timing in terms of like, you know, that was kind of how we ended up in the Louvre agreement, and actually almost in the Blast as well, but that didn't pan out in the end. But then I think it was mostly like, you know, we were, of course, like a very, very small town operation at the time. We were quite literally like 6 people running this shit. Like, I was still doing like actively social media and stuff at ENCE, you know, things of that nature. A while, I think my best day at the job was 2018 when I was temporarily coaching the CS team at the minor for London Major. I was simultaneously also filming vlogs on my phone, and then also doing social media and editing those videos on my phone.
And that prepared you for TikTok.
While trying to coach the team and help them, you know, perform. So yeah, I've done it all. But at the time in 2019, especially for us, you know, if we talk about ENCE specifically, you know, of course there was a pressure of attending events and be visible because we wanted to be, because these discussions for these partnership leagues started during 2019. And we wanted to, you know, perform. We wanted to attend these events, so that, you know, they wouldn't forget about us, because we obviously were not the big dogs in that discussions. We were kind of, you know, because they wanted us to be a part of it, so we try to tag along and be in those discussions. So of course it has an effect on it. You know, this is, at the end of the day, this is a business. We're trying to pay people money to do this, right? The players and the people behind the in the scenes.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's such a weird, because we've been talking about like the bubble and everything for years, right? I know a lot of people seem to have that standpoint. I'm of a firm believer that, you know, maybe that the hand that feeds us being Valve, if people's salaries weren't so out of control, and, you know, you're getting a lot of money if you do make it to a major. And I know that's going to depend on how much the community wants to invest in towards the stickers and signatures and everything that goes that way. And maybe the prize money when we move into next year, well, I guess we haven't heard it's getting a bump, right? So I don't know why I would even make that assumption. But, you know, you wonder what type of a living the best players in the world in Counter-Strike could make within a year if you take away the agents taking 10%, if you take away the orgs taking a percentage of the sticker money, right? Like, I've always just wondered what it would be like if we just had 6 people, or 5, because we know Valve hates coaches. But like what type of a life could they live? And obviously not as well structured. We wouldn't have all this awesome content that's coming out from all the different orgs and stuff. Those things wouldn't exist. But I just wonder what, because that's what I feel like Valve would like, right? Like people just rock up and they play the majors and they make some money.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ,
well,
that's romantic. that's romantic, and that's going back to when you and me were in our, you know, late, like almost 20, enjoying Counter-Strike, having a good time. We, you know, put up a team together, went to a local Blanc Cafe.
Don't tell me the dream's dead now, too. Is the dream dead?
The dream is fucking dead, man. Welcome to 2023, almost 2024. You know, these players of today are spoiled little babies.
That's what we wanted to hear.
Like quite literally, like they need, you know, people around them to change their diapers. You know, make sure they can check in on their flight. Like they're not like us, Chad. They're a different breed. And they've lived in a different reality. We can't compare ourselves to what they are these days. And it's fine that they're babies. It's just who they are. They're exceptionally talented people at their craft. And that's fine. We're used to it, you know. That's why we have all this stuff, you know, to help them, team managers, performance coaches, and all this kind of stuff. It's because there's more resource also. And we want to not leave any stone unturned to try and help them perform at their best level in a hectic environment. But nowadays, with a lot of public pressure, social media, all that kind of shit, right? So, yeah, that dream was dead a long time ago.
Yeah, everything's built up around them so that they can focus on those skills and focus on those talents and having them manifest at the right moments.
Yeah, must be nice. But what do we do when we look forward, right? So we go open. I've lost the word. What's the fucking word?
Open.
How have I lost the word?
Something to open.
No, but like an open calendar,
circuit?
An open circuit. That's the one. We go open circuit come 2025, right? What would be ideal? Would something like I was saying, where the TOs that want to continue to have a bunch of events and they want to incentivize you to attend there, like, so let's just say we live in this world. Valve come in and they say, okay, to have an event that will qualify you to earn points to go towards the major every year, you need to do this, and this, right? It has to be this type of format, has to be this much prize money, needs to be these type of conditions, right? That's all quite up in the air. I'm being quite vague with all of that because I don't know what Valve would want to say for those things, but let's just say that exists. And then it comes along and like ESO and Blast and let's say PGO comes back in and they're all fighting to get your attention, right? Now let's say Valve makes sure there's a cap on prize money so they can't put, like, people just can't come in and do fucking stupid stuff and do like 50 million or something just to things have to be somewhat reasonable. There have to be good offerings because I know ESL and Blast look after their players and teams very well, right? They're flying out a certain amount of people, there's certain conditions that are expected, and all of these things to help incentivize teams to play now. And then there's a rev share, right, that maybe it's not as lavish because you don't have the exclusive like tied in nature like you have right now. Is that something that can work? Like how are we meant to make this a business for everybody that can be merit based, but the teams who are playing well can make profit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very tough question to like find a single answer to, and I kind of want to roll back to something I meant to say earlier. Also, like we're all kind of reliant on one party in this, and we all know who that party is. Valve. They are the IP. They are the IP owner. At the end of the day, tomorrow they can say, "Fuck you all." You know, there's no esports in Counter-Strike anymore. We're all just going to be for the casual stuff. You know, they're going to keep on buying the cases and whatever they'll release, and they'll feel happy about it. You know, they won't blink an eye, I guess. You know, they could even decide tomorrow that there's not going to be any stickers at the next major for whatever reason. From what I understood, they did some changes in the Dota TI or majors or whatever in terms of the stuff you can buy. and the revenue that goes to teams. So they could technically, say, we printed enough money, we're good. So you guys don't need anything else either. I just wish this is, obviously dream world. This will never happen, but I wish we had some kind of a way to kind of voice our concerns from our different perspectives, because we all come from a different angle. Us, like me being a co-owner of a team, I have an angle, right, that I'm looking at. I have an agenda. I have my issues, my daily problems that I have to pull through to operate a Counter-Strike team. Then you have the players and the agents. I'll put them in the same category. They have their concerns. They have their issues. Then you have the TOs. They have their problems. They have their issues. They have their budgeting problems and this, that, and the other. And then obviously Valve, as the IP owner, they have their own concerns. I wish we could just have this circle of connection, at least, once in a while, to voice our concerns and then try and find some sort of a medium out of those issues where we could find that path going forward. But the unfortunate fact is that Valve had decided that their way of doing communications is that it doesn't exist. So we will never have those conversations. So then eventually what ends up is that we're, again, making our best guesstimates of what's happening in the future. And we'll keep on juggling and we'll keep on being in these cycles you kind of suggested, Chad, where every 3 to 5 years we will just kind of try to reinvent the wheel once again. In the meantime, while we could have these connections, we could discuss these issues openly between each other, and then perhaps we could actually find a model that makes everyone happy.
Can't help but notice you didn't put any broadcast talent in that little circle.
Well, I mean, you could
I'm just fucking with you.
Fuck you guys, I've been there.
But I think if everybody else is doing well, then we would by proxy do well.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah.
right?
No,
Like,
I'm just fucking around.
But I think one of the hard things to balance here is if we're looking for something that is merit based, then the problem is the powers that be right now, right? The top TOs right now or the top teams right now, they say you always have to have just the general assumption that it's to protect themselves, right? As opposed to making sure that this is something which is open and can work for everybody. Because of course, I would imagine if I was in your position, I would want my business to thrive, right? I would want to be able to stay for the next 10 years and be profitable and make sure that my position is secure. Whereas, like, that's why I wonder what the philosophy of Valve is. Do they even give a fuck about that? Like, that's one of the things. And you bang on, like, with the communication, do they care? And I hope they do care, because these are communities that have, especially with some business like yours, right? Like the way you were talking about it before, like if someone's on a call at 10 o'clock at night from a house party, people will come into work because they love what they do. It's not this like VC spawned fucking behemoth that's just rolling to spend money, make a top team, and then disappear in a couple of years. This is actually something that's meant to be sustainable and have growth and be a community thing for a region, even though your team isn't Finnish. I'm sure ENCE has a big impact on the way esports is done in Finland, right? So a team like yours is a good blueprint for what we would hope to have more of, as opposed to some of these other businesses, which we know are just hemorrhaging cash, right? So to find this balance, I don't know. This is the thing. We know Valve have been hands off for quite a long time. And is it something that's going to find it? Because this is the thing that I always thought with the TOs. Are they just literally allowing these TOs to fight until they go, oh, well, fight, poking each other in the eye and throwing sand in each other's face isn't working. Maybe we should be friends. Like, was that their actual thought? Because these guys are going to try and drown each other until the fucking cows come home. Like, I don't know. First of all, I don't know how we monetize our audience. Like, we've just given people shit for free for fucking 10 years now.
Oh, God.
And then on top of that, it seems like we're fucked, but everything keeps running. That's why I try not to question it so much. It's still running.
I have a question for you, because there was a lot in there. I think there's a couple things, Chad, I want to build on, but I think first I wanted to ask Natu, because you brought up like the idea that everything's controlled by the IP owner, who is Valve, but ENCE, you guys have had under that organization. You guys have been part of a number of games. I mean, right now you're mostly focused on Counter-Strike, but I know you have an NHL guy who does NHL game. I think you've had a Rocket League team in the past. You've had StarCraft, a really, really strong StarCraft 2 player. Is there any developer or IP owner that you think has done things really well?
Not necessarily. I think there's always flaws with everything. I don't think anyone's really. If someone had crack the code, I think everyone would copy it, right? If someone really made a model that was sustainably working long term, everyone would have copied it by now, right? So I think everyone is still kind of juggling what is the right course of action. There are for sure different developers that are much more open. Like even we have dialogue with different developers, publishers who we are not even part of their game today, but we'll have checkups like once a year. What's happening, what are the future plans, what's the roadmap going to be like? Is there something that could be of interest for us? We are having those discussions as we speak with different publishers, and then we kind of weigh in the pluses and the minuses, and kind of see if there's something that we could actually go for in the future. But no, I don't think there's any model right now that has been shown that is super good, because otherwise everyone would have already copied it.
Overwatch League is pretty good.
Yeah, or the CDL.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
It's probably single-handedly why so many big companies have been burned by esports.
Well, that's the thing. Those motherfuckers had the contacts to all the big sponsors, and because our game has guns and we say terrorist and counter-terrorist, then they don't come anywhere near us. They go to that dog shit and it blows up. Who would have thought? Oh wow! So the grass is green. Great, awesome. That's great.
The other point that Chad made that I wanted to ask you about and build upon, because I feel like one of the common grounds I feel like I've seen between teams and TOs from conversations over the years is like that desire that like everyone's asking the same question of how do we monetize the fan base better? How do we get people to start paying for things that they've, historically gotten for free for 10 years? And it's not like trying to reduce, the fans and the viewers to just like a monetary figure, like not trying to minimize them at all. But, that is the question at the end of the road, so to speak, where it's like this feels like it needs to happen at some point because everyone's trying to solve this problem and nobody knows how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, we fucked up as a community a long time ago. I'll roll back the gears. I think at least Chad and Janko, we shared some time doing some EPL on Facebook Gaming.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yes, indeed. We were talking about that just before, Natu, when I took off my pants.
Come full circle.
Okay, come full
No
circle.
Pants Friday.
Yeah. Good times. And remember the community outrage for the fact that it was shown on Facebook Gaming exclusively. Like,
They loved
people were freaking pissed off about it. And I realized the platform was not great. I mean, it was definitely not as good as something like Twitch. But that's one of the fundamental issues we've had, is that we've basically pushed away all the alternatives. So if you're not on Twitch, you don't exist. So then Twitch is like, what the fuck should we pay for this content? But everyone's going to want to come here just because we are Twitch, right?
This is the angle of selling broadcasting rights, essentially.
Exactly. And that's a big revenue stream in all major sport. And we fucked up in that regard. But also, like, if you think about traditional sports, back in the day, we used to, at least in Finland, we used to get a lot of the major sports for free on public channels. That was the norm. And then slowly, they started going behind pay-per-view or subscription-based services, right? Or cable TV, whatever. And eventually, it's not, now that the streaming platforms have come as a part of it, they are also struggling massively. So I'm not even sure if that's the answer, to be fair. Viasat, which is a big player all across Europe, basically, they own a lot of big properties like F1, for example. They show NHL, for example, here in Finland and whatnot. They've come to a point where they own so much of the different properties that they have to price their service. Like, I think in Finland it's like 45 euros a month. Which is just absolutely absurd, right? But for like an affordable price, I feel like if we just kind of bit the bullet at some point in time, I feel like, what is the alternative really, other than, taking money from people to consume? Because I know a lot of those people will not be there who are like, I'm not spending anything on it. But the reality is that are those people that are willing to spend the whatever, let's say 10 years a month to view, let's say, ESL tournaments, are those fans, it's bad for me to say this, and I feel bad saying this, But are they more valuable than the fans that are not willing to spend a dime? What's your thought,
Sure.
guys?
Yeah.
They are more valuable. 100%.
I mean,
they're
yeah,
more,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
less people, but they're more willing to spend money.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's something we also see, for events like Cologne, some of the biggest events we have, the tickets that go the fastest are the premium ones and the more expensive ones, right? So I think there's still room to figure out a model that could work better at the very least. And I think, as you were talking about the players, they're so spoiled. I think the fans are pretty spoiled too, right? Like, I mean,
Not our fans. I just want to let the record show. Not our fans.
not the guys listening
Our fans
to
are great.
this right now. No, our fans are the best.
Don't call me spoiled. I'm a fan.
They've been with us through audio issues. They've been with us through video desyncing issues. They're great. They're
Mental issues, all kinds of issues we have on this podcast. But I think it's just also, right, like, even when you watch a game on TV, right, you watch like a football game, whatever it is, like, let's say you're at your parents' house, someone's paying the bills for that, for cable TV at the very least. But it's just like, you're so used to it. Like, you're paying for your internet. Now, I guess, in Serbia, it's packaged. Like, the TV comes with the internet and it's the same provider, yada, yada, yada. And obviously, you're going to pay for the internet. And through that, you pay for like all that content, right, on the TV channels or whatever. I don't know, watch fucking TV. So I think if you were just taught and it just has to start happening, you have to pay something ridiculous like $5 a fucking month, to be able to enjoy, let's say it's $5 a month to watch both ESL and Blast, right? Like all the tournaments. Like, come on, man. Like, you're supposed to, that should be good enough.
Well, this is where it gets into this is where it gets into the more complicated side of the situation, because if like even if like people had made the switch to Facebook to watch ESL Pro League, or even if we use this example of where you pay $5 a month and you get Blast in ESL, but what if you still get to watch PGL? What if you get to see the same teams competing in ESL and Blast that are now competing in like two other leagues? Why would you pay for it if you still get the same Counter-Strike, the same teams, the same formats in an arena through a different TO? And that's where it gets a little bit more complicated, because then that $5, there's no value inherent in that, because you're paying for something that you could get for free elsewhere.
But then is it just better to run a bare bones like event, right? Like, is it instead of doing like all this grand production and everything and going into like, we know with ESO, because we've been working a lot on this with them in recent times, is like all the extra content and coming up with this stuff and having all of it. Like, is the content even generating them any revenue that's worthwhile? Or are we better off just like putting on the most bare bones event possible, just go from game into a desk just so you can get your sponsor, time up on air. And then you go back into a game and you just run that. You just run events like that. Like, with all this grandeur and everything else we're doing around it that obviously costs money, we think it's cool. I think it's really cool. We get to like expand on the stories and do all this other content. But does the viewer, do they give a fuck? Like, are we maybe spending too much money or much time on things like that when we should just be running a basic fucking event? I guess is that something that we should look at trying to cut cost on?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I'm the kind of guy, not only for CS, I love that stuff. Like, I love watching all the like, I typically speak, like, if there's a long pre-show thing going on, I'll have it on my second monitor. I'll listen in while working, for example, if it comes in the middle of the day. But then maybe I'm a extreme example here, but the same applies for me. I'm willing to pay for watching, like, I love hockey. I'm a Finn, right? So I'm willing to pay more to have more content, even if there was a free option for something that I really wanted to watch, I'd be okay paying, whatever it was, 10, 15, 20 euros for the
extra side content.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Janko does that with the NFL.
Yeah,
and all the power to you, Janko. I think that's more than reasonable.
No, I think it's it comes.
You pay for things you like, right? That's how life kind of
works. Yeah, I think it's just the thing we talk about, all that extra. I think it's important. Stories are important because people. That's why they get hooked to shit. Like, I started watching, like, it was the same for me with the NFL. Like, okay, I learned the game is kind of exciting, but then you see all the content that they have around it, all the cool stories, the rivalries, and obviously time needs to pass. Like, they have 70, okay, they will say 100 years, let's say, of history, but probably around 70 years of relevant game history, right? And that's where Counter-Strike is special compared to other esports. It's the only one that sort of persisted and on a high level that has the players and the viewers and the tournaments, where it's been around for 20 fucking years. Like Natu's here now, he built a fucking org, right? In Finland, he used to compete at one of the first fucking tournaments with Finnish players, traveled to the fucking US when Jason was like out there and cheering for Daddy Natu. Then Jason played, then Jason commentated, then he coached the team, right? Like we have all these personalities. Now we're even seeing guys from like a bit of a younger generation like me. Like I started competing when it was like, you know, Neo and Taz and Zonic, and now you're seeing all these guys moving into the coaching positions, right? Like taking the next step in their career. So there's so many storylines, right, that you can tap into. Like even Taz alluded to himself, you know, like me and Neo at the start of our playing careers, we were the biggest rivalry in Poland. Like we were on two opposite teams. You know, a lot of people like don't even know that. So maybe now we'll develop that rivalry again, just as coaches, right? Like you can just make a fucking 40-minute, doesn't even have to be super long, like a 20-minute content piece just around that. Like pile out, get some old footage or just get them talking, bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden, you're watching G2 FaZe. You're fucking, holy shit. Like these two guys, like there's that storyline. Obviously, Nico coming in from FaZe, but that's already a little bit old at this point, you know, and all this different stuff. And then people who are watching are like, yeah, you know, there's a lot of people there who fucking just don't understand Counter-Strike on a super high level, and that's normal. I don't fucking understand the NFL on an insane high level. I'm understanding like some of the basic concepts and shit, but there's so much going on. Like for someone who's never played and recently started watching, it's like I don't fucking know what the A gap is, and he's running this round against this coverage. I'm just like, fucking sick catch, bro. And then the guy explains it after, like sort of what happened. So it's the same thing for Counter-Strike. It's like, yeah, people will get some of the basic stuff, why things are happening the way they're happening. Casters help with that during games, analysts help with that pre-post game, but it's like also these stories, like they're into it. Now they're starting to find things to cheer for, right? Like heroes or anti-heroes, right? Villains. And I think that's what gets people, now they want to see like, a month from now, 2 months from now, they're playing again in the playoffs. I want this is going to be a good game. Like they want revenge for the last one or whatever it is, you know, that there's a rivalry going on. And that's why I think those stories are really important. And also, sure, I'm going on a rant a little bit, but even like with all the like the Zoomer generation, we're always thinking about Gen Z and how the fuck do we please the TikTok generation? Who cares? Our audience isn't only like young people. We have people who don't even play the game anymore, who are in their fucking 40s, who are going to tune into a tournament. They don't want you to reference fucking, I don't know what the latest TikTok meme is. You know, they just want someone to talk like a normal human being and cast the game and sort of explain the game. I think that's being like overlooked. And the most important thing about that's the motherfuckers who's going to pay you like $100 for some shit.
The people with
That's the guys who are going to spend their money, right? And who are going to get their kid, take them to a fucking Counter-Strike tournament, whatever game it is. We're talking about Counter-Strike, you know? So I think like there's this also a bit of a wrong perception about who we should be targeting. Of course, you can't neglect the young players, the viewers and all of that stuff, but you can't tailor your broadcast for them either, or your product.
You can do both. I mean,
you have to. You should.
Yeah, look at the revival F1 has had ever since Liberty Media came into the picture. I don't know if any of you guys follow any F1, but with the Netflix series...
I reference it a lot. I mean, it's a great example.
Yeah, the Netflix series Drive to Survive, but then also they have their TikTok game on point, but they also have a lot of extra content you can dive yourself into if you're super into it. So you're covering both of those corners. I mean, for Counter-Strike, as a Counter-Strike example, you know, I go to a LAN party 3 times a year to play Left 4 Dead 2. A game from it's pretty old, right?
Nerd.
I know, right? But we're like, I'm the youngest at the LAN party. Let's just put it that way, and I'm 38.
Holy shit.
And they all also follow ENCE and Counter-Strike, and we always have, if there's games going on, we'll have them on the TV. You know, we'll have watch parties. So you know, those are exactly the type of people that Janko is referring to, and they have disposable income. They're willing to spend for that kind of stuff. So there is a way to kind of do both of those things well.
Which is also, I mean, fucking the F1 this year is like you come into every race, you know who's going to win the race.
Yeah.
And people still tune in, right? Like that's also you have to have the skill to do that. You know, it's not really exciting this season, like at least at the very top. You know, even the last couple of seasons, you had Mercedes dominate for so long and whatnot. No one was even close to them, right? And for you to be able to create engagement and get people to tune in and stuff when you kind of know who's going to be the winner, like that sounds pretty crazy that you're able to do that. And actually, I mean, I was making one point, but now that you mentioned F1, you know, the old sort of main guy at F1 for a long time was Bernie Ecclestone, and one of the reasons like why he didn't want to change things was kind of this thing is like, why do I care about young people? You know, they're not going to spend money. They're not the ones who wear the Rolex or whatever and so on. But it was a backwards way of thinking, because as soon as Liberty Media like took over and kind of changed the approach when it comes to how do they market it, and now obviously Drive to Survive and the Netflix series, like everything just exploded. And obviously they managed to really tap into the US market, where now you have also a Miami race, a Las Vegas race, and all this shit. So, yeah.
And drivers who who stream, like especially when COVID kicked in and they couldn't do races, you had, you know, virtual races. You had like a lot of the F1 drivers doing races online, gaming other things. So like Landon Norris, I think is he calls himself a full-time streamer and a part-time F1 driver. So yeah, I mean, yeah, of course they're happy to have these kind of individuals also that are helping their narrative, but they are the ones pushing it and doing a really, really good job with it.
What are our figures though? Like, I'm not trying to compare it to F1, but like, what are we dealing with something that's even a reasonable amount of viewers to warrant what we're talking about? Do we have a big enough fan base? Do we have enough people that enjoy Counter-Strike? Like, I don't compare our figures to other shit. Like, I wouldn't even know where to start. I'm so just Counter-Strike focused. I don't know what the rest of the world is even fucking looking
You
like.
don't even need to think of it this way. Do we have cool fucking stories to tell?
Well, yeah, of course.
Just fucking tell them, you know? Like, if you think it would be interesting for people, it would be. It is. It is fucking interesting shit. At least for our audience. Even for, like, more general audience. Also, that's because also Counter-Strike is easy to understand when you fucking watch it. It's point and shoot, right? There's no characters, spells, and fucking ultimates. It's just rifles and grenades, you know? So I think we should just be doing what we can. Sure, now, obviously from the standpoint of how much money should be spent on it compared to some other things, but to do a decent enough job out of it, you don't need like a ton of cash to create fucking content. You need a camera and a, you know, microphone and a light, and then you need a guy to fucking dig up some footage and an editor to tie it all together. You know, we're not talking hundreds of thousands for that sort of a stuff. It's just about kind of building it right.
All right. Well, here's another one. Are we trying to have the cart before the horse here? Because Counter-Strike at this, I don't want to, like, professional Counter-Strike or Counter-Strike at the top level with people traveling and competing and different figures of money, that's been going on for 20 years, right? But in terms of Counter-Strike at this level, let's just say a decade, which is also kind of a little bit off, right? Really, it's probably only the last 7 years, maybe. So are we wanting too much too soon to think that this is possible now? Is this something that is going to be a grind for another 10, 15, 20 years before it, you know, we do eventually find that solution? Because I assume with how popular this game has been, and obviously I don't know what the advancements in technology is going to be like as far as video games are concerned, but let's consider we just continue on a path that we're on right now. And keyboard, mouse, point and shoot, the Counter-Strike, like there's no reason that this game can't exist if Valve keep putting out different iterations every 10 or so years, or whatever the fuck they do, right? So with that in mind, is this something that is just going to grow into what we're talking about, but we're just talking about it too soon? Like, we're just, again, you know, just missing that boat just at that ground level? Or is this something that we think is actually possible to do now?
I think you almost have to start it now. I think
Well, we are, right? But like, to say that we're not, like, we're here, all of us contribute in different ways and have done, like Janko was talking about, throughout the lifespan of Counter-Strike. But in terms of just like clicking our fingers and going, all right, let's make some money now, or let's get money out of these guys or those guys, or let's, you know, I don't know if that's, I don't know if we're asking too much too soon.
The problem was something that you also mentioned earlier that you guys mentioned when I was talking about paying for stuff is like you have another tournament around the corner with same or similar teams that would be for free. So why would they pay for it now? I think it's going to be difficult in the current landscape, even for storylines, because like you're building up a storyline, let's say, and then, you know, there's a different TO a month from now who's going to be focusing on some other things and their own tournament circuit and that whole sort of a thing. Like you have to have kind of cohesion.
Well, there should only be one circuit, right? Everything should be a funnel in towards the major. And that's what I'm hoping happens in 2025, is that the events that people are attending are all just part of this big funnel for the final event of the season. So everybody, regardless, it doesn't matter if you're a Blast, an ESL, a PGO, a Star Ladder, or whoever gives a fuck. Your event is on the context of, okay, these are the teams here. This is what they're competing for at our event. But at the end goal is this, which I think we've always been pretty good at talking about what the end goal is. Things just got fucking muddied and murkied when we're having to talk about the Pro Tour or where people are actually taking the fucking Blast Spring Group seriously. It's like, what that stuff has fucked stuff up in a big way because it really disenchanted me. And there was a period of time there, maybe a year and a half ago or whatever, and I started the year and I was like, well, if the community is just fine with watching these fucking exhibition matches, I guess I just have to be fine with it. Like, but that I think that's diluted a lot of the competitive nature and what things.
Sorry.
Yeah?
I was just going to say that I don't think they're fine with it. It's just what they're being served. And that's where the best teams were. So, like, that's stopping you.
Yeah.
You know, those teams have to be there, not somewhere else in a more competitive, like, tournament. And you want to watch the best teams. And that's kind of it. I don't think they're too happy with it. I think it probably reflects in the viewership, at least to some extent.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like there was a period of time there, and I don't even remember exactly when this was, but it just felt like people were okay with it. And I at that point I was just like, I guess we're just accepting this. Like, and it's also difficult. And I don't know, how do you get much like pushback and flack? You know, like with the stuff that you talk about when you're doing your stuff in Finland, because obviously you're attached to ENCE, so you're going to talk about things from that perspective. You obviously have your feelings about Blast, and you're an ESL partner team. Do you get many detractors in your scene?
Sorry, I zoned out. I completely zoned out. Ask that question.
No, you're all right. No, you're fine. I was just asking if you get many detractors like in the Finnish scene, because you're right. Obviously, you're talking about things from an ENCE perspective, and ENCE are a Louvre agreement partner team, so ESL, not Blast. Do you get like many people calling you out on that type of stuff?
Like, can you kind of elaborate a little bit more, like calling that out?
So for me, for example, right, I can't talk about anything from ESL in a positive light because people just call me like an ESL shill, right? Like like the community groundswell around me, it's a little bit more aggressive these days than that. But essentially, like, I'm in a position where if I want to express myself about, so the JKS is a great example, right? Like the dialogue around that is crazy. Like, I'm just telling what I've been told by having a discourse with the guy who was there, right? And just the way that framing is just, it's just like it's really demotivating, right? It just makes you go, well, why the fuck will I say anything then? Like, I'm just
do you get your expertise like almost negated because you have like you have, you know, certain leanings due to where you get your information and what your incentives are?
Oh, like here in Finland?
Yeah, with your content.
I mean, I don't feel like it. I feel like, you know, I've been able to kind of like, I like, for example, when we do the podcast we do in Finnish, kind of the whole thing is that I'll try to position myself as a Counter-Strike enjoyer when we do the podcast and not a co-owner of a team, right? Of course, at ENCE specifically, right? But of course, there are discussions like, especially recently with all the roster rumors and turmoil that's going to be going on. So we've kind of had a funny approaches where my counterpart has been speculating about it. And then I'll just have like an input or two that I'll put in there, not saying anything, right? And we've found a way to figure that out, right? And I don't like, we only get like, everyone just listens to it, like they love it, and they just wish we would be doing more. I think we did 24 episodes, so I think we're gonna do a 25th for this year. So I don't feel like it. You know, it's most like, you know, there's people that hate the shit out of me because they think I kicked Alexi B from ENCE in 2019. Personally, that I threw him out. Yeah. So there are some outliers out there that think I've ruined Finnish Counter-Strike. But it feels to me like majority is typically like kind of quote unquote thankful, you know, for putting up with all this bullshit for a better part of, well, more than 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right. Natu, we're gonna let you go. I know you got dinner coming up with the family.
Yeah.
What are you having for dinner?
That's
Elk.
a very good question. I obviously was here and I wasn't cooking, so how the hell should I know?
You
I
fired
don't know.
up
Maybe
the
you get
sauna
like a
tonight?
menu at the start of every day.
That's always
I don't
that's
live
always
in
the
a-
tastiest dinner when someone else makes it for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's chat. Even if I would wish for it, I don't live in a hotel, so no, I don't get a daily menu. My wife keeps telling me that I don't live in a hotel.
You get that business class flight menu. This is what your appetizer is going to be. This is your choice for the main course, fish or steak.
I would be lying if I said that we've never actually had this conversation, or that she's never said this to me, that I don't live in a hotel, because it might seem like it sometimes.
Well, hey, bring it up and let us know how it goes.
Leave her a tip. See how that goes.
That's
All right, hey, thanks
great
for-
marriage
yeah.
advice.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Yuta. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers,
Have a
brother.
good one. Hey, keep doing what you guys are doing. It's a fun podcast. I'm a fan.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
Joona.
Appreciate it.
Will you be
Later.
one of the first ones to get a jock strap when we actually make them?
He doesn't know about the jock strap yet.
All right. Laters.
See you, bro.
But
Peace. We're
Wow.
almost at 2 hours.
Wow, I know. We haven't even, yeah.
Well, this is the thing that I didn't realize how many guests we were going to have. I know you mentioned Natu the other day, and then I was talking to Rush today. But we have so much from the Discord that I'm sure people were probably wanting us to talk about that we didn't talk about. I feel like the next episode we do should almost exclusively be about talking about shit that's happened in the Discord and people's questions there.
yeah, and
Yeah,
like
and I
wrapping
mean,
up the
we're-
whole year, coming up
we're
with some
hitting up-
bullshit awards.
We're hitting up the player break as well. So we've got some episodes that are going to be a little bit light on activity within the scene that we can tackle a bunch of that stuff too. I didn't expect for us to talk to Natsu for like an hour and a half, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, we covered a lot of topics.
Yeah, that was good.
We didn't solve world peace at all.
No, but like when you get someone like that who has that different perspective from the team perspective, it was like, okay, this is like a chance to fire all the ammunition in terms of, you know, getting questions answered from a different perspective that the audience obviously isn't always privy to, and even us usually get more of an angle from the TOs that we work for than the teams.
Yeah. I know that there's a couple of them have interesting ways to, not like a pay-per-view model, but I don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to fucking give away their ideas because they haven't actually followed through with it yet. But there's some, I know like people are thinking of ways to, I don't know, alleviate some of the pressure that is being felt within the scene. But this is the one thing, and I kind of I didn't allude to it. It just, you know, the light stays on with what we're doing, and there must be a reason for that. I don't know if it's because everybody just feels like Counter-Strike, you know, is the one, and everyone's just trying to stay in this arms race until one day everything is like hugely profitable or whatever. But it goes, I think, to the point that you were making as well, Yanko, about the history of the game and the stories of the game. Like this isn't just like a, you know, fly-by-night thing. It's not just a game that's going to be around for 3 years and then we fuck off to the next title where it gets rehashed. Like this is something that actually has a lot of personality to it. So I think that's probably one of the key reasons as to why we're in such a good position.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
I was just going to say what I talked about the cohesion part of things. I mean, at the start, you had the NBA and the ABA. Then they merged. You had the NFL and the AFL. Then they merged, right? Like you had, and now there's only one football league. I mean, the main one, the big one in the NFL has like some smaller ones they're about to start because they're trying to fill the off season in the NFL. There's only the NBA, right? And their G League, which is a development league for development players, sort of like an academy league. So that's why then it's easier to bundle all things, right? Like bundle deals and do all that shit. Easier to build the storylines because everyone's playing just that one league for whatever 50, 60 years now, right? And it helps you with building storylines. So I think that ultimately you feel like has to be what happens in Counter-Strike 2, but I don't want to get into it because it's a super complicated topic, because in sports no one owns basketball. In Counter-Strike, Valve owns Counter-Strike, and it's not you know, they have their own, like Natu was saying, there's all these different parties. And I think we talked plenty about politics and business
yeah.
and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess for this one we can still just touch on the World Finals for one.
Yeah, I didn't see the grand final itself because I was on an aeroplane. But you know, from what I saw overall of the Counter-Strike, it's just Vitality and FaZe,
Yeah.
and then everybody else either had their well, I don't want to say it's not excuses, but there's different like issues as to different, like obviously Mal's with a stand in. You know, you could talk about Navi or G2, I suppose, with a little bit more.
Man, I guess
What
I
your
could talk
thoughts,
for
Janko?
G2 about the fucking way they still manage to lose games, man. I just can't. I even tweeted it out. It's like, I can't believe it. Like, it's so bizarre. Like, it is truly bizarre the way in which they lose some of these rounds, man. Like, you can't explain it. It really is inexplicable. Like the Alexi B round. All right, they're thinking he's saving. There's two guys, bottom banana, Hunter and Huxi. Monesi is playing whatever. He was small pit. And then Nexa was like somewhere towards short or something like that, or default. And then Monesi dies. And you can even see, like, I think on the minimap, like Hunter and Huxi or one of them sort of stop kind of to see, okay, this should I go back now? And then goes towards banana still, like goes towards B still, and then only after like an extra 2 seconds starts going back to A. And then there's like Nexa also showing himself and kind of, I don't know, I didn't see it from his POV. Did he try to trade with Monesi immediately or whatever? Like he should have just played for time once Monesi dies. And then, you know, he can't do that because Alexi just rushes him in a way and gets the kill and just defuses the bomb. And G2 who was up like 5-0 at the time or 5-1, you know, that's how they lose a round in a 4v1 with the bomb down. Like, it's ridiculous. And then after that, they also lose. But, people, it's not that. It's like the next round really broke them. But that round would have fucked Navi up. Navi doesn't go for, like, the aggressive play in the next round if they don't have the money by winning the defuse from Alexi. And also, the fact that Swanee didn't take a timeout after that round kind of shows you, like, why it's best that they have a new coach. Like, you have to fucking take... That's like a thing where you like think you have to take a fucking timeout and call something for the team and just give them a little bit of, like, words. It's like, hey, fuck it, shit happens. We're owning them. Let's just focus on this round. Like, let's make sure we're focused. If they try something aggressive, you maybe make a call that you have against something like that. And that's it. That's all you do. That's all you need to do. Right? Instead, you know that everyone's like fucking wondering how the fuck did this happen. They're still thinking about it. And then there's 5 seconds left in freeze time. And then you're leaving spawn and you're like still shell-shocked about the round. Like, you have to, it's like in basketball. You have to take a timeout to sort of stop worse shit from happening. And they played really well against FaZe. That was a really good game. Counter-Strike, Nexa had some of his moments, clutches and stuff, right? It felt like, I can't even remember how that game ended. Like, I knew they were in a position to win the series against FaZe 2, and they sort of fucked it up. Like, they threw it away. And then against Navi 2 on the second map, then on the third map, Ima just comes in, like he's owning Nico Yard. And then they just wrecked them on the decider, and all of a sudden G2 is 5th and 6th, right? When they could have been like in the semifinal. And actually,
probably not going to beat Vitality, but yeah, they could. No,
I don't think they were. I don't think they were going to beat them. I think they they would beat them 1 out of 5 times in these current situations. Only if they like sort of kind of popped off. But yeah, it's just like I really like I can't like put my finger on it. And this has been the case for the last like fucking whatever 2 years, 3 years. It just these games like keep happening. Like they're there, they're playing well, like. They're about to win the game, close it out, and then some shit happens like in the middle of a game that completely turns the match on its head and costs them the match.
But were you happy with what you saw, Janko? Because I know when we were talking about the team last time, you I don't know, not hugely impressed, right, by the roster that had been assembled. Essentially just
I'm mostly impressed. I mean, I can't even say impressed, but I really liked what was coming out from Taz in the interviews and stuff. All the stuff that we talked about is like, okay, he needs to focus on these things, but can he do it? He is inexperienced, but okay, he's a very experienced player, leader. Everything he said sounded like he understands what he needs to do, and that also he has an idea or a plan of how he is going to do it, right? So that gives me confidence for the future. There was nothing like realistically that G2 could have done here. Both Vitality and FaZe are just so ahead of the rest of these teams that I don't think especially Vitality, that they could have beaten them if they faced them, but that it wasn't really important for them in that sense. It's more like having some of those good moments, and I think for Next also individually to have a couple of good holds, a couple of good clutches, get them fired up a little bit, so that he also feels like, hey, I can actually do this. I'm sure that he probably had some confidence issues, because he's been kind of away from the tier 1 games and important matches for a while, ever since he left G2 for OG. So some of those things, I mean, Nico not having, outside of that one map really against FaZe or one
as a quiet tournament from Nico,
on Inferno T side as well, seems like he's still kind of getting into the swing of things when it comes to the new game and this new lineup. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens for them.
Yep. Yeah, so this is the thing. It's early days with a lot of these teams, right? And not only that, you have some question marks about a bunch of them. That's my big thing. So going into next year, this is where this event is just where we leave off 2023, and we leave off 2023 with Vitality being the best team in the world and FaZe the ones nipping at the heels. And outside of that, then the conversation is quite open. Right, I think at this point is where you really start going, okay, well, who are MOUZ going to get? Were they happy with Brolin? Do they want to look elsewhere? Or can they keep themselves up within that top 5 conversation? G2, okay, with Nexa, let's say that this is just a lateral move and they're in the same kind of position they're in with JKS, which means that they can be competitive, right? They can be a competitive team, and if they have Nico and Modesty playing well, then they can win, right? That's the conversation that's existed with G2 regardless. Then you started to look at, okay, Na'Vi, are they showing good growth? Well, I remember making a tweet when that event was on, and I think that they're still playing within the structure that Alexia and Blade won, and they're not taking risks as individuals. And you need to see more from Emma. One good map is not enough. Wonderful still has a lot of room for growth. So they're not on the tip of my tongue as a team who I think are primed and ready to be in the conversation for trophies. Virtus Pro, they're lurking in the water, right? This is a team that is definitely going to be dangerous.
Always
you got
fucking
Flit
lurking.
and Fame in that. They're a scary team.
They won Atlanta.
Then, a Complexity are the one that has left a bad taste in the mouth for me, because, and I've made this comment a couple times, and I've seen both sides of it. So I've seen people go, "Oh no, but they're still a contender." I've seen people say, "The SPUNJ, they were never a contender." And I think that when you make the grand final in Sydney, you put yourself on the map as a team that's like, "Oh shit, okay, they can play," right? And we're thinking they're breaking down some barriers. Alesia's in the team now; they're taking that next step up, right? Are they like a massive unit of a roster, like a Vitality, like a FaZe? No, but are they a team that if they go into an event and they're playing well, could they make a run for the trophy? I thought so. I don't know if I do now, because it's been a dog shit end to the year for them.
It was just
fucking pathetic.
It was such a huge slip up too. It would have been one thing if they lost and got eliminated, in the quarters to a VP, even in Apex, but getting banged out in 3 maps by Mongols across the best of 1 and then the best of 3 deciders. That one really hurts. That
Jason,
really scuffs the image.
Tell us, what is it that happens to Grim whenever he's on a team with Elise? Because he's, people are also saying,
PTSD?
where the fuck is Grim? What happened to him?
Yeah, he's. It seems like he's lost his step, lost a little bit of confidence in the way he plays. But I think too, it is something where you make room for someone like Elise. When Grim was kind of the guy on the team before Elise joined, and in the early days after Elise joins, it looks like there was a lot more sharing of that duty in terms of Grim stepping up. But I think in reality, the thing Grim's always going to have to work on, because he is a very passive personality, quiet, happy to kind of go with the flow. He's going to have to kind of, be a guy who steps up and earns a little bit more space on the team to be, and proves that he can handle it consistently. Because they've showed that they can actually both go off together and both be impactful together. And I think this was a really, really bad event for Grim. And I think a little bit of attitude development of taking that responsibility of being I am the second star of this team. I am supposed to be the second badass to Elise, and really owning that and going for it. But I think Grim hasn't kind of taken that step to have that sort of authority in this situation.
I think
if that makes sense.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, Jason, everybody's been wanting you to spill the tea on some of the Liquid stories. Is there anything that you can tell? Have you had to think about what you could? Has it not been long enough yet?
I haven't thought about what stories I want to tell quite yet. Quite yet.
All right.
I'm very guarded about those things. I don't like to be the guy who spills the beans on the inner team work.
It's just you said you would. I know. I think that's why people are bringing it up.
No, I did, and that was perhaps stupid of me, but there's some stories I can think about and have in talent.
All right, we'll see.
But
which
I
one's the most PG.
need to put it through the filter. I need to sit down, write them down, map them out.
Fair enough. Yanko, what do you think about the Cloud9 thing? Because I know what Jason thinks. What do you think about these guys going, we don't need a fucking AWPer? I know you and Groove are good mates.
No, I mean, I think it was blown a little bit out of proportion, man, because like they just took that one line, and when you hear him talking about it, he's not saying like, oh, they think it's great that they don't have an AWPer. He's like, just kind of, it was more about that they won't be making any roster changes, so that like we don't have an AWPer and we'll have to continue that way, right? Which tells me that they've looked into different options at the time, saw if they could make something happen. They didn't transpire for one reason or the other, and now they're just sticking with the roster that they have, which has shown some promise. And some of the excuses he gave for the lack of their performance, I mean, once you look at it that way, they've been in the Emirates for 10 days and you can't really get proper practice, or the players can't even play properly individually. Those are not the greatest conditions to come into a tournament like the World Finals. So again, I think we have to wait for next year and see if would be able to make something happen like Liquid did in their Grand Slam run.
I think for me, one of the most compelling stories to kind of close out this year is the angle of, has Vitality found like a little bit of a peak too early? Can they keep this up as a dominant team going into next year?
Well, why not? It'd be hard not to see them with the motivation. You have a really young core to the team. You have Mezzi, who isn't here to coast, right? He's someone who's yet to have those big achievements. He's just going to be making them with the team. Apex seems fucking damn set on making sure that he goes down in the conversation as a great in-game leader. Not just like a guy that was an entry fragger that's become just an in-game leader, like a guy who is in the conversation for someone who's been able to do it and do it at the highest level, right? Like, I don't see a player in that team that doesn't have the motivation to stay at the top. Like, they all have their own reasons, and then they have the reason that, well, they.
Yeah, I don't think it's a motivation thing, but you have to imagine the gap is going to close. Like, there is.
But who's coming for him?
There is.
So you could say FaZe.
FaZe, VP, I think is always going to be there. I think this Falcons team can be strong. But I mean, the gap is going to close. There's a lot of upheaval.
But Falcons, it's so hard to put a metric on.
Yeah,
I know. You can say, okay, it's good because of the core of the team, but then then you have to see how they actually play, and that team essentially rides or dies by Boros, because he's going to be the star rifler of the team.
Yep.
And he's someone who his teammates probably have used kinder words in this, but describe him as a bit of a plank of wood. You wind him up, you let him go, he can get some headshots. But in terms of I saw some stats on Twitter the other day that it was his util usage. It's fucking abysmal, and that's not going to fly in that team, as we know. But how is it going to work? What style is Snappy going to call? Is it just going to be ENCE style with Magisk and Boros plugged into this? I'm sure Boros would love that, just getting to rush and get flashed into sites all the time. But we don't know. Like, this is the thing where obviously we speculate. That's what we do. But Spirit is another name. Like Shiro, I can sit here and go, okay, Shiro and Dong, that's fucking exciting. I was excited for Electronic and Shiro. And then look at that, like Cloud9, biggest disappointment of the year, Cloud9, 100%, with that roster change. Just it fizzled. It had nothing, had so much hype behind it. Everyone's excited for it. It was just fucking nothing. It was nothing. Like, I know they had the blip on the radar with Axel having to come in a little bit late or whatever. Did he end up making it for that playoff match? I forget. Was that
in Cologne? Yeah, he made it for the playoff match. It was the only one he played.
Yeah, but and they lost that game. Yep. So it never really got to be what it was meant to be. And then I go down the list, I scroll down, I go, okay, there's some exciting like little prospects here. I would love to see the Mongols. This is the time when I would love for a team like the Mongols or Lin Vision or just like a domestic team to come in and just crack the top 8 of a major and just really shake up the fucking status quo of Counter-Strike how we have it right now. Because I don't think it's as clear cut as it used to be by any means. I think it's fucking wide open. I think you look at outside of Vitality and FaZe, and I think you could we could all sit here and have a different argument for who we think goes 3rd to 10th, right? And like fucking Falcons are 9th, and that's just based off having the core of ENCE. Like that's not even a power ranking. Like they're not even playing. Like what?
But again, that's the point, though. The gap is going to close. So many of these teams are in upheaval, and a lot of that is going to get smoothed out over the break and to start the year and leading into the major. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to see if Vitality's they're not. I don't think they're going to be, because when you guys talk about Blast World Finals, it's almost like it's not even worth bringing up Vitality at the World Finals because they were just so dominant and so far above every other team they played that.
Well, they did what they needed to do.
It wasn't even a
position.
competition, right? But that there's
Well, they
certainly
owned everybody.
I know, but it wasn't competition. Like they destroyed everyone. So next year,
This has been the last 6 months almost.
it's not going to be
not for them, but for the scene.
it's not going to be dominant for Vitality to start next year, I don't think. I think teams are going to close the gap and they're going to be challenged more. And can they keep up this pace of being that number one team through the Blast groups, through Katowice, through the RMRs, and into the major?
Yeah,
I mean,
but they're in the best. They're in the best starting position
Yep.
because across the board they have fucking insane talent. That's the problem. They have the best player in the world in Zaibu. They have Spinks, who's also doing a great job in his position as a rifle. Flames is coming into his own in the new anchor / entry fragger role, and Mazzy just one of the best all around players in terms of his versatility, and also he's getting into the swing of things in the new role. And Apex has been also doing a good bit of
Best
fragging,
simulator.
right? And then he has the relationship with Xtaz from before, so they're okay in that department. We know the support that Vitality gives to the team. And then you look at someone like FaZe, Frozen for Twists, should be fine, but there's more question marks about FaZe than there is about Vitality.
Yep.
So it will be, they need a little bit more work. They have let's say, more win conditions than Vitality has, kind of in that sense. So I think Mouse is going to fall off. Not necessarily fall off, but other teams are going to catch up and sort of surpass them now that they don't have Frozen on the roster
I hope
anymore.
not. I think that's such a cool team to see playing well.
A lot of
I
people
love
have
watching
been
Mouse.
asking about Spirit with Shiro. Who do you think is going to be able to upset that's not, Vitality or FaZe or some of the big names? And I think it's really interesting. I mean, fucking Shiro and Dong, bro. Welcome to the Dero era, Shonk era. I don't know. But they had a
It was
couple
the
of
pause.
kids. I was also thinking about, do they maybe bring Patsy back now as well? For Magix or Zontex. But Zontex has been doing good.
Really good.
Yeah,
I don't think Patsy gets the call.
yeah, so in case they just wanted some more experience, but it's okay. They have good firepower. I'm interested to see what impact Shiro has on that team in terms of his experience with the tier 1, and we know he talks a lot in game, so they might be an exciting, fun team to look at. And I'm also really, I have high expectations for Astralis, who just let go their coach, which I was surprised. I thought he meshed well with the team and was doing a good job. Probably
people seem to think Exist.
Yeah,
is
that's
going
the
there.
speculation that Exist is going to come in. Which also, again, he's been with Heroic for a long time, right? Obviously, in-game leader for NIP for all those years, a wealth of experience on his side of things. Man, you have arguably the 4 most skilled players in Denmark on that team.
Yeah.
Stone, Yabi, Blame, and Device, right? And
Stairs got potential.
And then you would maybe, I don't know who would be the Stairs has great potential. I can't put him in as the 5th because Magisk is there, right? Zyphon, I don't know who you wanna maybe put into that conversation as well, bro. I don't know. But at least these 4 guys for me, that's a fucking shit ton of firepower that they have. And remember how good the team atmosphere and the mood was. They built a really good group. Let's see if they'll be able to do the same in Stone and Yabi. Seems like they have the formula. They also have remember they brought the performance coach over from Heroic. He knows Stone and Yabi. That's why the Exist connection exists there. So I have fucking high expectations out of Astral. It's not out of the gate, willing to give them the time, but I feel like this lineup should be a contender team. Right,
just had to kill Heroic to be the best Danish team.
Or
again.
the joke is they'll just bring Saw from Heroic to be their coach.
That'd be fucking awesome.
Just
that would
fucking
actually
get
be
it done. So those are 2 teams for me. I guess Astralis and Spirit and Falcons. I mean, this is now basically the rumored lineup just with Madden instead of Nico. That's the one difference, right? That's a
pretty big difference, though. That's a pretty big difference.
I mean, it is a big difference.
Was Boros going to be there if Nico went?
Yes.
Was that meant
Boros
to be?
was going to be there no matter what. So, let's see how that goes. Madden is not to be underestimated. And yeah, what you said about Boros, Chad, but who better to teach him shit than Zonic?
Oh, for
you
sure.
know, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
or Snappy,
I see that.
and
It's
Snappy
just-
to help a little bit with playing within the system or whatnot. So that might still turn out good. So there's a bunch of these teams, man, that will be hopefully fun and exciting to watch. And we still don't know how Heroic is going to look in the end. The speculation is Tassis, Shush, Nerds, Nikodos, which for me was a disappointment in signing, and Kiksan as the in-game leader, because Nikodos had his shot in a way with Fnatic. What prevented them from at least individually, performing?
You touched on it when Natu was here, Yanko. I really disappointed in this heroic lineup. I'm sat here and I'm just like, it has to be money, because I can't see why Nerds would think this team is going to be better than the ENCE lineup with Glaive. Like I don't see it in any way.
And it's funny because we were sitting here a week ago and talking about this, and like, you were asked why would they move? For the money. Well, how much money is it really that big of a difference and shit? And I don't know what else. It has to be Saw, and we were talking about the whole core. Like, that would be different if the three of them go compared to just Nerds going there. It's like, sure, they can offer him a shit ton of money, but it's like, I guess it's maybe he's being a little bit short-sighted, or maybe a little bit of tunnel vision where, you're getting more in base salary. I'm sure that's the case, but if this was your team, you might have been one of the best teams in the world and win a shit ton in prize money.
Yeah, I don't want to attract undue attention to the money angle of it. I just know, looking at these team lineup to lineup, team to team, I'm just like, I don't see why you would think you would have more faith in this heroic lineup that's coming together with Tessa's, Shush, Nikadaz, and Kixen as an IGL than you would of the team that you'd been top 3 at for a year and a half, with a guy who's in the conversation for the greatest in-game leader of all time. Sure, Glaive still has to prove that he can get back to a great level of calling, and that it proved that he can still be a valuable in-game leader in the scene at the moment. But I don't understand the math in terms of the fucking lineups. That ENCE roster just seems so much stronger, especially when you don't make the move with the other core strength players of Sun Pius and Madden, right? That's what seems insane to me. I think my stocks in heroic, I'm selling them. I'm out. I'm not a huge fan of this at all. But I actually think, it's funny. I said this on the HLTV Confirmed last night. I actually think ENCE getting 9 is not a bad move whatsoever. The 9 core, I think it's kind of cool. I think it feels like I had more, a little bit more appreciation and love for that 9 lineup, despite their lack of big wins.
They were
and
just
big results.
big chokers.
Yeah, but watching them play, in the eye test, they stayed creative inside the server. They were still being aggressive and still coming up with creative plays. I think still playing some really, really smart and cool Counter-Strike at times. Hades obviously has some huge firepower since he left ENCE and joined this team. Now obviously back at ENCE, but he's a really powerful player to have in the roster. Diha's a really powerful player. I think this is kind of a steal, considering, as we heard, ENCE had 48 to 72 hours to put this together and find this roster. And I think, all things considered, this isn't bad at all. I think they're going to be better than heroic.
Well, okay.
Speculation, entire speculation.
Well, no, and that's fine. I'm just and I'm not just immediately disagreeing with you by any means. I'm looking at it, right. The thing is, it's so hard to look at what Glaive did in the events that he got to play with ENCE and take anything from that so far. So I almost feel like I want to wash that away, just completely forget about all of that, and for them to get to start fresh in my mind next year. And then see how competitive they can be. And the thing is, with the pieces that they've taken here, so they didn't take K, right? They took Kyla, they took Goofy, they took Hades, and alongside Diha. So essentially, this team is, I'm trying to think what other Polish players that you'd want to plug in here anyway. So you if you were actually just wanting to get a Polish in-game leader, you could whack Shui in there, for example, right? But outside of that, I'm thinking which Polish players would be missing from this team that you'd want to have. Am I forgetting any Polish names that would make sense here? Because if I'm just looking at it from that perspective,
the easy low-hanging fruit, just due to name value, is Snacks. But
okay, so it would just Shui or Snacks would come in as the in-game leader, right? If it was going to be a full Polish team. So otherwise, they're happy with this. And 9 have recently tried to make some moves to shake up what wasn't working for them, right? Minio got removed. It's probably a decent chunk of time ago now, but he was the in-game leader of the team. So they were looking for new direction anyway. And then you had Diho, who has a lot of experience. into the mix here with this roster, and I can get excited for it. Like if they can avoid being a team that chokes in big matches and misses a couple shots they should probably hit, then they're going to find themselves in obviously a much better position. I think if you look at it from the org perspective, like you discussed, great for ENCE. From the team perspective, I think it's good to have some faith shown in them. This is a step up for these players, for all of them to get to have this opportunity. So let's see if they can put Polish Counter-Strike back on the map, because they're going to be referred to as a Polish Counter-Strike team even if they're speaking English. So in terms of them being better than Heroic, that'll be... I guess then you ask questions about Kixen, right? How good is Kixen as an in-game leader? I guess we don't really know.
Yeah.
Like we've only seen him with Apex. Apex were just in the final of Atlanta. They got blown out, but if they knew Kixen was leaving...
But it's not just the comparison of like how good is he as a caller, but now you have to put together basically a brand new team. Like, there's Tesses and Shush from the old Heroic, but this is kind of piecemeal.
What does that saying mean? You've used it a couple times. What does that mean?
What, piecemeal?
Is it like pieces in like world peace?
Yeah,
like
you're putting together like
pieces.
I actually don't know the history of the phrase, but I'm assuming.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm assuming it just means you're putting a meal together with pieces that don't seemingly go together. You're just like taking one little piece
describes
from
something
everywhere.
that is made or done in a series of steps.
Sure.
Step by step or in pieces. Okay.
Like
all right,
you don't have
today.
like the full picture in mind. Like you're just kind of throwing it together as you go.
Learned something new today. That's nice. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I like that.
I have a question
Gentlemen,
for you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah?
Are we at the end?
Yeah, what's up,
This is
Jason?
maybe the last question.
Hit me. No, it's all right. I'm not on a shit time zone right now.
I don't have like a really good answer to this, but this whole like roster mania, this like last round of it that happened, like really kind of, I don't know. It sat with me the wrong way. I don't like these like roster changes that are like taking entire cores away from teams. Like if they're taking like 3 players at a time. They're really fucking. This last one was really weird to me, and it hasn't always been in the past. I don't know why this one is so different, but isn't there like some kind of, I don't know, doesn't it feel like almost dangerous if we're moving into a world where roster changes are made with the idea of like taking the core of a team to make sure you're getting roster spots?
So you're talking about the Falcons change and the ENCE change.
And the ENCE change.
But isn't that just the situation they found themselves in with how close Katowice and the major is?
I don't know, but I don't want like roster changes to get to a point
You're
where
just
it's
fucking butthurt, Jason, that Falcons got a spot for Katowice and Liquid didn't. Just admit it.
No, I don't give a fuck about that. But
I would like Liquid to be in
I would like
Katowice,
Liquid to be there. But I am a little butthurt, but not super butthurt. But isn't there like some kind of like dangerous precedent of like, we're not just making this change because we want this player, but let's also add this 1 or 2 extra player into it so that we get the spot? Like, isn't that like kind of...
Dude, when I was looking at trying to build an Oz team, right, I was trying to take the core of Greyhound so I get everything.
Yeah.
Like... What do you mean?
I don't know. I'm fleshing these emotions out live on air with you guys because I don't know why this like recent round of it has sat so poorly with me, but it's almost like
that's what we're playing for here. You just either start from zero, right? You build a roster. So this is like, let's use Natu as an example. They build a roster. Okay, so they get left with Diha and they have Glaive. Okay, so you get 2 players. So now you start picking. Okay. Have a look right now. Open slather. Who are you going to grab? We need an AWPer. Who are we going to find as an AWPer? Maybe they go and they grab one of these CIS AWPers, right? They plug and play one of them. Okay, well, what is that? Now you need to start. For them, they'll be in Pro League. That would probably be the first thing that they would play the open qualifiers for the major, so straight into the gauntlet. The date right now is the fucking 20th of December. The RMR stuff, the open qualifiers for the RMR, I think they start on like the 8th of January or some shit, right? Like that's just around the corner, like literally just around the corner. So that's the first thing you play with a brand new roster, trying to practice over the holiday period when people are going to be wanting to take a bit of downtime with their family and shit. You go into that, let's say you don't make that. Well, now you're on fucking ice. So you're iced out until, if you are ENCE, we'll stick with this example, you get to play in Pro League, but what else do you have along the journey? Right, and this is why for Falcons, this was the biggest concern with them. They come in, they make a splash, they have all this disruptive force based off of who they are and what we think they have to throw around. And then when we heard they were going to be left with MHL, Long, Sporos, Magisk, and Snappy, I was like, well, who cares? We're not even going to fucking see these guys unless they qualify for the major.
But this is, I think Yanko made the joke about butthurt about Falcons taking a spot from Liquid, I guess, in Katowice. But I would say I'm more butthurt that we watched ENCE kind of build this team up and last through like star players leaving across a year, and then it just gets kind of like decimated by one team with a bunch of money coming in, or 2 teams, I guess I should say, with a bunch of money taking the core away. and taking the spots that go along with that.
But then, who
core.
are you feeling bad for? The orgs?
I don't know. I don't actually
Because
know.
if like the core of the team, essentially they're
I
just
don't actually
changing their
know.
hat.
Yeah, I know.
Like
The two guys
It's
that
just-
get fucked, like
Yeah, I don't know.
That get left
Dihar and
behind.
Glaive in that situation.
Yeah,
Or then it would be
The 9.
what was it? J Cobb and fucking K.
It's
Yeah.
just
it
I don't
JK?
want to get to I don't want to get to a world where like roster changes aren't made because they think it's an upgrade, but because it comes with a spot.
well, we were there before, and then it got changed because before you could just get a spot at the major by signing the core, but now it's you only get it at the RMR. That doesn't guarantee you're going to be at the major, so it's allowed.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
It's all right, Jason.
yeah.
You spilled your coffee.
And you could
before.
still go through the open qualifiers and get there, like with
That's a lot of
different
coffee,
roster.
dude. I just finished swiping it up like 10 minutes ago. I kept finding like little pockets of coffee under the monitor stands. It's fucked up.
Maybe you could just not spill it next time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to stop putting it on like the left of the desk. I need to put it on the right of the desk out of the way.
We'll remind you next time. We'll tell you to put it on the right, or maybe you could write yourself like a little note.
A
with
post-it note on the
Post-it.
monitor, coffee on the right.
Yeah, that could be good. I was doing that for a while when I was playing Counter-Strike. I was like, writing all these things to remind myself of, so I wasn't getting like too frustrated or whatever. But those posters are now in the bin, so
All
you
right.
can tell how that went. Gentlemen,
Yeah, it's a little
we've
bit
been
of a
going
marathon.
for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's fine. No, we used to do long episodes. We've kind of been, around that 2 hour, an hour and a half like recently, which is not an issue. But I know, Yanko, your Christmas isn't until a little bit later than Jason
Yeah.
and my Christmas. Do we want to do an episode next week sometime?
If
I
you
would like
guys
to do an
can.
episode next week. Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can.
I'm back. I'm just going for a quick little trip. I'll be back on the 26th.
Okay.
I am doing a HLTV confirm next week as well on some date. Let me see. I don't know when that is exactly, but we can
Well, let's
work something out. We're always
let's
much more
tentatively say
flexible.
a week from today, the 27th, and if confirmed overtakes that, then we can swap it around.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
And we'll
Well,
focus more
should-
on questions from the Discord during that one and do sort of like end of the year wrap. Like,
What do you guys think about like staying like, because most of us, we all have at different points been like active typing in there. It's interesting like to see the type of questions that people are asking and whatnot. So yeah, I think it's fun. I think it's good. I didn't expect to have like over 400 people participate and so many people to be actively talking and asking questions and chatting with each other. I saw people in like the Looking to Frag channel the other day. People were in there together. I don't know if they were just talking to each other or if they're actually playing Counter-Strike. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Jason, you built a community.
I know we're getting there. We've built a community.
Well, you did the grunt work on this and it looks...
no, it's been great.
So Jason,
Yeah.
that round of applause we started with, Jason, I want to end with a round of applause for you.
Oh.
You've done great, Jason. Really just pat yourself on the back here.
Thank you,
You've
John.
done a great job
Yeah.
and I appreciate it.
I love it.
Hard for me because I still need to
Alright.
drop the microphone on the table and then do the.
You still don't have a fucking mic stand.
No.
I'm bringing you a little
No,
screw
yeah,
thing
bring me
when
the
it comes
screw
to
for
Serbia.
the. award show.
hours of just holding a microphone.
Yes. Yes. And on that note, Jason, you can fuck off.
All right, let's get out of here. Peace.